Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Tuesday, September 26th, 2023 at 7 p.m. One moment, please. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Postoli.
Here.
Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Councilmember McGinnis is absent. Vice President Treston.
Here.
President Bendo.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of Acting City Manager Ron Walsh and Corporation Counsel Dennis Cohen. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
Councilman Lester, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our, regrettably, first meeting of the fall. Hope everyone had a great summer, and maybe we'll get a few more nice weekends in before Mother Nature changes that. So why don't we...
Mr. Bendo, before you begin, if we could all just take a moment of silence for those in Farmingdale. Thank you.
Okay. I don't think we have a city manager report tonight, so we can go right to the agenda.
Okay, on to the calendar. Item 1 is a resolution ratifying a collective bargaining agreement between the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association of the City of Long Beach and the City of Long Beach.
So I'll start this out. If you'll pull up the PowerPoint. If it pleases the council, I'm going to give a PowerPoint presentation for the audience to get a better understanding of some of the provisions inside of the contract. The full contract is actually online. So if anybody's interested in reading it, it is a very complicated document, and it needs explanation if you're going to read it and try and make sense of it. So the first thing I want to say is that these negotiations started with the PBA over 2 years ago, some 3 PBA presidents ago, and have been continuing throughout the last 2 years. I don't know if you can see that out in the audience, but the very last negotiated contract that the PBA had was 18 years ago. It was negotiated in 2005, and it actually covered from 2005 to 2008. The 2 negotiators for this particular contract, 2 lead negotiators, was the PBA president, Sergeant Rocco Walsh, who I see is in the back of the room, no relation, and myself for the city. Since 2008, the city had 2 arbitration awards. Generally speaking, an arbitration can only last 2 years unless there's an agreement with between the parties that it can last longer. The first arbitration covered 6 years here, from 2008 to 2014, and that included some raises for the PBA as well as some other provisions. And the last one was an arbitration award that covered years 15 and 16. There were no raises in that arbitration award. It capped payouts, it cut longevity payments, it cut accruals for sick leave, personal time, terminal leave, established employee contributions towards health care, and increased the number of steps to reach top pay. It was a very management-friendly arbitration. There were no increases, and there have been no increases for the members of the PBA since 2014. The Long Beach Police Department was steadfast, falling behind other agencies, and was one of the lowest paid police departments in what's called the Municipal Police Council here in Nassau County. And it was starting to cause us to have issues with people leaving our job as well, and that was one of the things that the city was cognizant of. that we needed to stop to try to make sure that we secured the members of our police department. These negotiations took a very long time. It was a very long time to build trust across the table because there have been so many fits and starts here and so much controversy actually in the city with regard to union and management relations. And I'm very proud to say that we were able to come to an agreement and that this agreement has already been ratified by the PBA, and now I'm here to present it to you. So why don't we go to the next slide, Dave? So the main areas of focus during negotiations here were that there was no retroactivity, no retroactive payments for years gone by. It was to increase our officers' appearances here in the city at no additional cost, increase the numbers of officers on patrol. We're trying to decrease our overtime costs and increase the ability to manage staff, and we wanted to fix some of the structural cost centers that caused the city to kind of fall behind in our expenses. We also wanted to make sure that we got body-worn cameras in as well as settled all outstanding grievances and improper practices that the PBA had outstanding over the years. Next slide, please. So the next slide shows you the proposed salary increases. They're quite modest. They're 2% for the first 5 years and then 3% in years after that. When the contract goes in effect, should it get approved tonight, there will be a 16% uncompounded raise for the members of the PBA with no retroactive. When you compound that out, that averages about 2.3% per year. And there's, as I said before, 0 retroactive payments. Next slide, please. One of the things that both parties wanted to avoid was going to arbitration again. Arbitration has risks for both sides. As I mentioned, arbitration is limited to 2 years, and if it was needed, it would not conclude until well into 2024. So therefore, at the conclusion, the PBA and the city would still be without a contract for the years 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. So basically what it means is we would start immediately back at the table once we spent the money and the effort and time of the staff of both the PBA and the city and our attorneys and an arbitrator to start negotiations again. I do believe that the likelihood of going back into arbitration will be high if we would have failed this time because we spent so much time and effort trying to come to an agreement. But actually, if you look at it this way, it would take about 6 arbitration awards to come to what these negotiations have been able to bring forward as a negotiated agreement between the two sides. Next slide, please. So the major focus here was an avoidance of retroactivity or retroactive payments. Just the arbitration costs alone would have been between $200,000 and $400,000, and that's really a conservative estimate, and that's the city's side of it, not including what the PBA would have to spend on that. The non-retro was a very difficult block for the PBA to overcome, and it was one of the things that the city had as a very early demand, if you will, that we could not afford to saddle the city with millions and millions of dollars of retroactive payments. And it was through these negotiations and what you're about to see that stumbling block was overcome. The raises will take effect on July 1st of this year when this gets passed, and the contract is valid through 2029. Next slide. I'm being very general here. I'll get into a little bit more of the specifics in a minute, but the new contract includes several measures to reduce or limit the amount of overtime incurred by the city and structurally fixing things in the old CBA that were difficult for the city to manage. Changes to tour assignments, desk coverage, and the creation of what's called a vacation squad are all going to be able to provide recurring savings to the city. Additional changes regarding our tour vacancies and use of paid time off, and the way officers can take mutual tour changes are also going to result in savings, not only in our overtime, but also create efficiencies in how we can put our manpower on the street. Each member who stayed with the city, next slide, each member who stayed with the city throughout these times where they had no contract is getting a stay bonus of a maximum of $1,000 per year. The actual average per officer is a $4,200 stay bonus. Some officers will receive the $6,000 maximum. The total cost of that provision is $269,000 for the 64 officers that are affected. Those payments actually, in the way, for the purposes of budgeting, are going to be spread over 2 years. The first one will be within 60 days of ratification, and the second one will be before July 31st of next year in the new fiscal year. Next slide, please. Our tour assignments. Right now, the PBA has 10-hour tours, or the current CBA had 10-hour tours. One of the most wasteful things that many people complained about in the city and on the administration was the overlap. Basically, what happens is between the hours of 10 o'clock at night and 4 o'clock in the morning, you have double the amount of officers on the street. And while that actually works well during the summertime, it is not as efficient for our, or as productive as we would like it to be for the remainder of the year. So the new contract calls for 2 12-hour tours as the primary work environment. So right now, each tour has five officers generally on the street, up to 7 or 8 assigned to a squad when we're at full staffing. This new tour process will have 10 officers assigned to the street, both during the daytime, the day 12-hour tour, and the night 12-hour tour. Of course, leaving provisions for officers to be able to use paid time off, vacation time, or others. Basically, what this actually is going to result in is an increase in manpower efficiency for us. The overlap no longer exists. More officers will be working per tour throughout the year, and we'll be able to add additional patrols to the, especially one of the goals here is to get officers up on the boardwalk and down on the west end on your weekends in the summer and on the beach. Part of the reason why we wanted this, and we have those things called they're called contractual days, is to make sure that the city has additional officers during the summer so that we can address some of the concerns that the city has had with regard to patrols on the beach and on the boardwalk. One of the smaller bullets there is new contractual payback days, and I'll get into that in a minute, but the way that works is the PBA, and that's the next slide, so why don't we go to that, Dave? The PBA currently has basically an 8-hour tour that they are allowed, that the city uses for them to go to the range, and another tour for training purposes when we find a training opportunity. Most of the time it's used for what we call as rifle training or long gun training. In the new contract, we now have 4 12-hour contractual days. So one of those days will be used for the range, and it will increase the range time so that we can do taser training and other types of training at the range. But 3 of those tours can be used for either to cover tours or training or community outreach. So the next line down actually shows the math. There's going to be 70 or so officers here. Time 12-hour tours, time 4 days is 3,360 hours, less the 560 hours that we already had for the 8-hour days. So we have 2,800 hours of work that officers now are going to be able to select what tour they want to work during the summer hours. Basically, those tours will be offered to the PBA on a seniority basis, and they will pick and choose where they want to work so that it boosts our manpower in the summer, and there's no overtime associated with that expense. So it's a great managerial tool for the city as well. So the payback days going forward looks like that'll save around $318,000 per year in overtime. Next, you got it, okay. So in the current contract, the current CBA, the way it's written, it says that all work of the PBA members is actually, when you work it outside of your tour, it's actually on overtime. The new contract gives the officers themselves the ability to say, hey, I'd like to work a particular tour outside of my tour, or I'd like to go to specified training, and by request, we no longer have to pay them overtime. So much of our training will be done on straight time now. Members also can adjust their tour to go to meetings and things like that, where they have been identified. Next slide, please. The current contract is very restrictive when we have shortages on either side. Right now, there are 3 different squads on days on one side and 3 on the other, so that's a total of 6 squads. This reduces it really down to 2 tours, a day and a night. The new contract is going to give the city the ability, when we're short members on days or nights, to actually have it reassign an officer from a day tour to a night tour or a night tour to a day tour to start to plug holes so that it doesn't cost the city overtime, and we do that within 7 days' notice. And the flexibility is not only going to reduce overtime, but it's really going to ensure that our manpower and our coverage on the street remains more steady throughout the year as well, which was a big concern. We're trying to make sure that the city has all of the public safety coverage that it needs to better address the public safety concerns of the city. Next is our vacation squad. So this is an entirely new concept, and to kind of sum it up, we have the right to have an officer select or direct the most junior officer to be in this, and it can be up to 4 officers who actually have their schedule to fill in for the vacation selections of the other officers who are on vacation when it would normally incur us overtime. So this is a provision that we will be working closely with the PBA to make sure that it actually works within the construct of the contract, but it also is, by our calculations, roughly around $100,000 in savings for overtime once we get ourselves to the manpower allocation and the level that we need. Use of paid time off. In the existing contract, one of the decisions of our prior arbitration was that basically one member of the PBA was allowed to take off regardless of how many members were working. And so if we had a time where we only had 3 members working, we generally always try to field at least 5 cars. Someone could take time off without any say of us, so dropping us down to 2 officers, meaning we'd have to expend a lot more money in overtime. So the new contract, remember now, you're starting with 10 officers on every day. We allow 2 officers to be off on vacation, so that leaves 8. And there are a lot of rules in and around the contract, but basically this is what it does. We pretty much guarantee ourselves that we're going to have at least 7 officers on the street day and night in the summer, on the summer weekends and summer holidays. At least 6 every day during the summer, during the week. And for the rest of the year, we can go down to the 5 officers that we're much more accustomed to here, but it's not really something that I think is going to happen nearly as much because of the openness and the ability of the officers to actually get time off now, which was a big complaint of the PBA in that they wanted their members to be able to get time off, and we work very, very hard in this contract to be able to accommodate all the different members of the PBA to get time off while maintaining the ability to have a minimum of 7, 6, or 5 cars, depending on the time of the year. So it also made provisions for our desk sergeants. In the current contract, it's not often enough where we have a sergeant on the street to actually provide patrol supervision. This contract actually has 4 or 3 sergeants on most days working on most tours, giving the sergeants the ability not only to take off, but also for us to have the ability to have sergeants on the street providing patrol supervision. So you can see some of the savings up there. The desk coverage should be reduced by about $206,000 per year in overtime with the new structure of the new contract. Additionally, there are provisions in here where if there's an emergency declared or there's a public safety need, the police commissioner has the right to actually say nobody can have off, these officers can't have off on this day because we have a public safety need. Next is our mutual tours. This is getting a little bit deeper in, but officers now have the ability to do tour changes, but the tour change cannot cost the city overtime. So if you can imagine an officer working on a day where it's short the number of officers you need, and he wants to switch into a day where it's a full tour, where we don't need anybody, they're not allowed to do a tour change on that day. But they could go from a short tour, from a fully staffed tour to a short tour, one that needs officers, or a short tour to another short tour. And we would just have to be able to cover that. So there's no way it can cost us any more money. There's only a way for us to save money with these provisions. So that was really pivotal in that. And it also gives the officers who don't have enough time on the job to take time off to have the ability and the flexibility to move themselves and say, okay, well, there's enough people working on Tuesday. I want to take off on Tuesday. How about I come in on Friday for Tuesday, and we need somebody on Friday, and it kind of makes everybody happy. So that was something else that we worked on. Our detective step savings. The current contract, the way it's written, is when a detective is made from the rank of police officer and he becomes a detective, if that detective has, say, 3 years on, he would jump automatically to top pay police officer and then get detective pay on top of that. So what this actually does is it creates now steps. The police officer will have to work his way through the police officer steps, albeit at an accelerated rate of every 6 months he would move through a year's worth of step. But that's 2 real-life examples on the screen there. If we had this provision for the last 2 detectives that we made, we would have saved $155,000 and $114,000 on each one of those promotions. So this is something that will really turn into an actualized savings for the city and still have us and give us the ability to promote our detectives and keep our detective squad as up and functioning. Our sick leave. But this is actually something that the PBA kind of came to us and worked hard on it with us as well. Currently, our current senior members, those hired before 2017, receive 26 sick days per year. Did everything just go out, Dave? Okay. 26 sick days per year. This will reduce that number of sick days for those senior officers to 20 days per year. Employees on sick leave now must remain at home when they go out sick unless they actually receive permission from the desk officer, and there's 5 specified reasons in the contract where they're allowed to leave. Things like medical necessity, treatment, to get food, religious services, or to vote in an authorized election. So the police department now has the right to visit members at their homes when they're out sick to make sure that they actually are sick between 7 and 10 o'clock at night, 7 in the morning and 10 o'clock at night. And there was times, believe it or not, where officers who were either out sick or on limited duty would get overtime to come in to see the police surgeon. For those of you who don't know, the police surgeon is a doctor who works for the city and for the police department and checks to make sure an officer A is actually ill or injured the way they say they are, and B, that they're fit to come back for duty and there's no risk to the officer or to the public. There's also the creation of a bank of 10 days. The second decision that we had, the second arbitration decision that came out that covered the years of 15 and 16, dramatically reduced the number of sick time hours that our newest members get. And we've had situations where those members have completely run out of sick time because they were very ill. Unfortunately, some of the members did get very ill and ran out of time. So this allows the police commissioner to give up to 10 days to a bank for an officer who uses their entire allotment of that year's sick time so that they can recover and get themselves back to work. But it's at the police commissioner's discretion. It's not grievable. So it is something that was really a benefit to actually something that we realized that some of our members, the time was not adequate when they got severely ill. So it was a way to kind of cover that. Our next is line of duty. The current contract, believe it or not, when an employee went out on line of duty, was accruing sick leave and personal leave and vacation days when they didn't have to come to work. The new contract will allow them to accrue sick, vacation, and personal for 1 year. The reason for that is a member doesn't know they're going to get injured. And during that year when they're actually injured, they had scheduled vacation. They had time that they thought they were going to be able to take off, but they don't need it now, and they didn't know that they were not going to be able to go on vacation because they've either broken a leg or some other rather serious injury that keeps people out. So this was a way to stop it will stop the accruals after 1 year, for at least 30 days. Non-line of duty sick leave are not eligible for night differential anymore after 30 days of being out. The current contract had 90 days. So these provisions are all designed to save the city money, and there were grievances that were settled with this contract that surrounded this because of the different applications of these rules throughout the years and the confusion that was laid by the Regal decision. Next is recall. So the basis for this is basically this. Officers used to, when they were called back to work, recall means you get called back to work, they would get a minimum of 4 hours of pay, and then they would get 2 hours of travel time, so that would equal 6 hours of overtime pay. So this actually, in sum and substance, reduces that to just the straight 4 hours of overtime, saving the city considerable money. And it also says that if you're recalled to work and you don't get to work within 45 minutes, you only get paid for the amount of hours that you're actually here. So it motivates our officers to kind of step it up and get to work immediately when we call you in on a need. Next slide. We eliminated basically mileage from the contract, and we eliminated or we reduced a half an hour of comp time in travel time when you're on court recall. So basically, this turns into about a $46,000 savings per year for the city, as well as a mileage allowance. The mileage allowance has basically been eliminated. That is, unless an officer is asked to use his personal car while at work to go do city business, then they would get paid for mileage. Meal allowance, quickly, is when an officer worked 12 hours here, they got another meal hour. When they worked 12 hours and 1 minute, they got another 30 minutes of meal. So they would get an hour and a half of meal time. And that time was able to be stored up and saved so that if an officer earned that in his first 5 years and then he retired after 20 years, all of the raises that applied to that money cost the city more and more money as time went on. And what this basically does is it limits the additional meal to 1 hour for those working 12 or 10-hour tours and 8-hour tours as well, with time frames. And the officers will get paid for that meal hour, that missed meal hour, the next paycheck, avoiding the increase in the actual value of the meal hour, as well as cutting a half an hour out of that provision. Off-duty notifications, the current contract actually had something in where if an officer got notified, hey, you have court tomorrow, and they hung up the phone, that turned into 2 hours of straight pay for the officer just for a simple phone call. So now what was done in the contract is that the officers will not receive compensation for that notification. So notifications can be brief. If it becomes an extended or prolonged exchange, they would get compensated, but it relieves us of the pressure of having to notify somebody and costing the city money for city business. Vacation time. The new members had their vacations reduced dramatically by the Regal decision, the second arbitration decision. This contract, when we sign it, the members that were hired as of 9/18/2020 are going to receive an additional 12 hours of vacation time and per year, and then after their 6th year, they'll get another 12 hours of vacation time per year. That's only for the current employees. New employees will get 12 hours of additional time after their 3rd year and 12 hours of additional time after the completion of their 9th year of service. So that's another, it was something for the membership to be able to get time off, and actually was part of the entire package here. Separation pay, we did some clarification in there that the members who had between 15 and 20 years will now be able to achieve the 275 cap like all the other members of the PBA. Their pay rate for those hours that they earn during that time period is frozen at the hourly rate that they actually earn it. And there's a provision in here too that now allows us to plan for people's retirements. So when a member wants to retire and they have extended time on the books, They can give us a letter notifying us of their retirement. It can't be rescinded, and they can take 6 months off while we can now plan 6 months off of time that they have, reducing their payout. And now we can actually plan our hiring and train people and keep the level of the police department much more stable, not have these wild fluctuations that would cost the city overtime. The next thing that we worked on together rather extensively is that the Long Beach Police Department will now have body-worn cameras. Every member of the police department will be wearing a body-worn camera. We worked very, very hard in the negotiations to make this not only acceptable to the PBA, but acceptable to the actual department and the city. The vendor that we've chosen is the next item that's going to be up on the agenda, and that's Axon, so I'll save you the pain of hearing me again, in that we're going to be getting 66 body-worn cameras and 60 tasers, all wrapped in with the necessary storage and cartridges and training and train the trainer and all the software necessary to actually implement this across the entire department and secure this new level of, I would say, transparency for this department. Now, from now on, when someone in this department is accused of something, there will be a body-worn camera on, as well as if there's need for documentation, and it adds a new level to the transparency of the department. Like I said before, we've settled all of the grievances and outstanding issues for this particular contract, or this particular time frame. So basically, from the time, if this gets passed tonight, from today back in history, everything is considered settled. We saved over $60,000 in settling these grievances in this contract, and we start with a clean slate with the PBA moving forward. And our last slide is that budget amendments. So the budget will be amended by $1.1 million to cover the expense of the salaries. That doesn't include the reduction in the overtime for the first year, because we won't be able to really implement the 12-hour tours until at least January. As soon as, the selection process, should this get passed tonight, will probably start tomorrow for the PBA to start selecting tours, or at least the administrative side of that. And the expectation is to use the unassigned fund balance to cover the difference for this next year. And that is my presentation of the contract, if there are any questions from the council.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Sure. Couple of questions. Ron? Okay. Couple of questions. On the new contract, employment on employees out on line of duty sick leave will accrue sick leave. Mm-hmm. They are using the sick leave when they're on line of duty?
So when you're on line of duty, that's like a workers' compensation claim. You're hurt at work. So they
Right.
they are not charged sick leave. That's at
Right.
the
Okay.
city's expense for an officer who gets hurt while doing their job protecting the
Okay.
city.
But they're continuing to accrue it.
They will accrue that for 1 year, and after 1 year, they have
Yeah.
it stops.
Okay, I just wasn't sure. And the other thing is off-duty notification.
Yes.
When employees receive the notification, they're not compensated unless it constitutes an interview or prolonged exchange.
Correct.
Is there any definition of prolonged?
Well, the
exchange?
officer would say to the person talking to them on the phone, hey, this is getting kind of long. Am I getting paid for this? At that point in time, either the call gets terminated or the officer gets paid.
And when you say paid, does that trigger?
2 hours of
it
straight
triggers
time
the
pay.
2 hours.
And then if it
Okay.
goes beyond that,
Okay.
which I don't foresee.
It just wasn't clear. Anyway, my comment about this contract. Actually, Ron, I think the last contract went from 2003 to 2008. So it's been 20 years, okay? It was negotiated in 2005, but it went back to 2003.
Right, it did.
So we're
That's when they
talking
started.
20 years for this incoming, all right? You know what? I think you did a remarkable job, but I also have to thank the PBA.
Absolutely.
They looked at the city, as far as I'm concerned. I was not part of the negotiations, but the way it looks, they looked at the city and they said, we're going to try to help. And you know what? A negotiation where everybody feels they lost something is a successful negotiation. Did we get everything in the world we wanted? No. It didn't save us enough to pay off Haberman. Which,
No.
But
No.
on the other hand, there are a lot of things that we've complained about, specifically the overtime, and you really made, and you and the PBA have done a lot to change that.
I have to echo your sentiment, Councilman Lester, that the team that the PBA put at the table were formidable negotiators. They were very focused. They had a lot of very strong information, and they worked and worked and worked. And there was a lot of give and take back across that table, and that's why it took 2 years. But to be able to sit in front of the city and this council at this time and say that we have a negotiated contract after such nearly 2 decades is really a testament to the leadership of the PBA as well.
Yeah, and so Ron, I want to thank you for this, but I specifically want to thank the PBA because I know you guys gave up a lot, and it must have been difficult, but, you know, we thank you, and the city thanks you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I want to echo that. This, I just wanted to call out what Councilman Lester said. It really is a great model of collaboration. So thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to the PBA.
You're welcome.
I just have a quick statement as well. Can everybody hear me? So union contracts, I've learned, take more time than I could have ever imagined. Each party, as Mr. Lester has said, wants to do what's best for their members. Negotiations do take time. It shouldn't take, at least in my opinion, 2 decades. The adoption of a collective bargaining agreement is a testament to the department and wanting to see that the city of Long Beach is able to sustain a future police department. Our PBA plays a vital role in maintaining law and order in our city. They are dedicated individuals who put their lives on the line every day to protect us. So I'd like to thank Commissioner Walsh, and his team and the members of the PBA and their continued dedication to the city of Long Beach. So thank you again. I know that this was very, very tough.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, just one more comment. I don't know how many people know it. Long Beach is considered in the top 25 in the nation as far as safety and how low our crime is, and that's as a result of the PBA. And once again, thank you guys.
All right, any comments from the public? Gentleman over here.
How you doing, guys? I'm Sean O'Neill from the Long Beach CSEA, and I'm also the Long Beach Health and Safety Chairman. I'm here on behalf of CSEA's President John Mooney and his executive board. We fully support this contract. It was a great job by the police commissioner and both negotiating teams. The CSEA stands in solidarity with the PBA, and we ask for you to please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Gentleman right here.
So you might notice my voice is a bit hoarse.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Sorry, my name is Rabbi Benny Berlin.
Thank you.
I'm the rabbi of the Bach Jewish Center here in Long Beach. As I mentioned, you might notice my voice is a bit hoarse because yesterday was Yom Kippur, the holy day, the holiest day of the year in the Jewish calendar. And I had a dual responsibility of giving sermons and acting as a cantor, and I had a lot to attend to, but security was not something I had to worry about, because the city manager, Commissioner Walsh, ensured that there were police officers patrolling the various synagogues. And I'm telling you, I hear a lot of complaints. I know you guys probably think that's pretty surprising, complaints in a congregation. But I do get complaints from time to time with things like, just random things in the synagogue. But you know what I don't get complaints about? The feeling of safety. I didn't hear one complaint about that. The quality of life in Long Beach has improved. The crime rates are down. The streets feel safer. So now my congregants can complain about the cholents, they can complain about the hot dog choices. They don't have to complain about the security feeling. And I'm telling you, people appreciate it. The Commissioner Walsh, his team, they partner with our community. And I have to say that, last year during the holiday season, we conducted a partnership where we provided toys for children that were in the hospital. And the police department did a meet and greet with the Jewish community. And my son Akiva now wears a hat that Commissioner Walsh gave him, and he says he wants to be a part of the police. So I don't know, listen, he's 4 years old, but we'll have to talk about it in a couple of years. So I'm really just so impressed with everything that the city manager and his team have accomplished. I fully support this contract. And as is mentioned, I just want to thank the Commissioner Walsh, his team, the members of the PBA. Thank you for everything that you do for this community. It feels safer, we feel it, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Any more comments from the public? I guess since you're standing, we'll get you next, Ron.
My name is Phil Bostrov. I'm representing Chabad of the Beaches and Rabbi Goodman, and he sent me here to listen and show my support for the commissioner and the whole city council and the city of Long Beach. And yesterday, I am actually the head of security for the rabbi, and I had more police stopping by, standing in front, being inside, and all the community that was inside Chabad of the Beaches was actually thanking me, and I said it's not me, it's the Commissioner Walsh and the whole city itself. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Ron?
Ron Paganini, Long Beach. Good evening, everybody. Listen, we all appreciate the police. It's never worked better. I have to give the credit. But just for the record, you're adding $1 million to the budget in overtime. So is that what you...
No, the overall cost of the contract and salaries is about $1.1 million. That does not include the cuts that we're going to make in overtime. Those will take place in next year's budget.
All right, so the budget right now is still $1.5 million, right?
1.1, yeah.
I mean, currently, right now, it's 1.1?
No.
No. It's
No.
1.5, right?
Oh, you mean the current overtime budget for the PBA right now is 1.4 for the police department, not the PBA. The police department is 1.4 million. Last year it was 1.6. Each year I've returned money in that line. The way we budget it is so that there's no impact on the city is that we budget for slightly more than we need every year so that we don't run short. But the overtime costs since I've been here have gone down every year.
All right, so the total is 25%, right, of the raises.
Yeah, we're probably anticipating someplace in the area of a $600,000 reduction in our overtime costs, but we will not do all of that in 1 year's budget time and future planning because, like I said, we don't want to leave it short. So we will work on with the 12-hour tours for the next year to see how they work.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to cover the cost of the raises. You know, it's not going to crush us, meaning the taxpayer. You know what I'm saying? So over time, there'll be savings here and there, as you said.
There will be structural savings
So
ongoing.
within a year, we could see some of these savings.
You'll see savings immediately in the operational costs, yes, and you'll also see an increase in the number of
I
officers
just
on the
wanted to
street.
understand it, you know, in that respect.
It's very convoluted, so yeah.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman right here.
Good evening. I'm Neil Vogel. I'm the chairperson of the Board of Temple Emmanuel. I'm sorry, I'll do it again. I'm still Neil Vogel, chairperson of the Board of Temple Emmanuel of Long Beach. My comments are as applicable to Agenda Item 1 as they are to Agenda Item 3. We'd like to thank Commissioner Walsh for creating this environment that we also feel at our synagogue of safety. It's a remarkable partnership that we have forged with the Commissioner and the police. There has never been a time during Ron's tenure when we couldn't count on him no matter what the issue, whether it was attending temple events for the right causes, anti-Semitism, other events that we've had. In fact, Ron, you spend more time in the building. We're about to charge you dues for being there as often as you have. But your integrity, being able to put together an agreement like this, truly speaks of a remarkable city representative. We are blessed to have you in our community. You're somebody we want on our team, and I hope that you continue to serve the city as well as you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See a hand in the back there? Yeah. Oh, the rabbi.
Rabbi Silver.
Good evening. My name is Binyamin Silver. I'm the rabbi of the Young Israel of Long Beach.
Is the mic on?
Hello.
That's better.
Good evening. My name is Binyamin Silver. I'm the rabbi of the Young Israel of Long Beach. I'm here on behalf of the Long Beach Jewish community, the Young Israel of Long Beach. I'm here with several board members and several congregants. We just want to express our firm support for Commissioner Walsh and everything he does. We felt incredibly safe and protected under his leadership, and we support both him and this agreement. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. All right, any other? Mr. Hodge.
Good evening, James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, here in our great city, Long Beach, New York, from Maple to Nevada, from the Bay to the ocean. I stand in solidarity with the union as a former union member for over 20 years. It's always good when people have protections and they have people that can defend them under contracts that they have signed to protect them and help them and their families by helping them through the contract. So again, as a former vice PAC chair and union member for over 20 years, unions are important. I am happy, sorry that it took 20 years. I don't know what may happen in November, but I'm happy it was taken care of now. So thank you for the diligent work to the PBA, for all of them that may be watching. I wish all of them were here because this is a very, very important. I know that leadership is here, but on something like this, I believe that it would have been great to have as many as possible here, but I do know they may be busy working and doing other things. But again, I support this contract. Thank you, Commissioner, AKA City Manager, and more for working with the PBA and really handling this, because we've had quite a few city managers and police commissioners, and it's here. So thank you, and thank you, PBA.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Sergeant Walsh.
Hello, Rocco Walsh, President of the Long Beach Patrolmen's Benevolent Association. So I'll keep this brief. Just want to thank the City Council for letting us get to this point to present the Council the contract to you for possible ratification. Take a long time, over a year. Thank Commissioner Walsh. We worked very hard, long hours, a lot of meetings to come to this point, and I think his proposal has shown that it's something that benefits our members and the city as well in their current fiscal situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rocco.
Any other comments? I'm going to make one just before we move on. Being the person that's been on the council the longest, I was here for a prior police commissioner, and I don't believe this contract would have been possible back then. When I first got elected, one of the big issues was the police not having a contract for so long. But one of the things that needed to happen is there needed to be trust built between the administration and the union, so everybody felt everybody was giving something, but everybody was getting something. It was basically about building trust. And that took a long time. This negotiation took 2 years. And there were people on both sides dedicated to getting a good compromise that was good for both the residents and for the people that are out there 24/7 protecting us. So I just think it's important to point out that this is, not just a contract, but this was 2 years of, blood, sweat, and like I said, building a relationship. So I'm going to add my thank you also to both the PBA and the police commissioner for getting us to this point, because while I get it, this presentation may be a little hard to follow, this is good for both the union and the residents of this city. So with that, we'll move on to item 2.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase body cameras and tasers for the city under Sourcewell contract.
So this is part of the presentation that I just gave. This is the contract that authorizes the city to purchase the body-worn cameras for each officer that will be on patrol, as well as providing the officers with their own taser. Right now, the way the tasers were actually done was we were buying them individually. We had to purchase individual cartridges, and it was an a la carte type of thing that was very, very expensive. We were able to come up with with bundling the two of them together through a Sourcewell contract with Axon, who is the manufacturer of not only the cameras that we're going to use, as well as the tasers, which is the electronic control device, to help prevent the officers from having to use deadly physical force and have another option on their belt to actually help save lives and keep the public more safe. We were able to get a $160,000 grant from New York State to offset the cost of this for the city. The total cost of this package, we were able to negotiate down to a 5-year cost of about $407,000, with $160,000 we'll pay for the first year's worth of this, and the remaining balance will be paid over the next successive 4 years.
Okay, any questions from the council?
Just one, Ron, and I don't know if you have the statistics, but I have read that body cameras save cities, especially New York, tremendous amounts when it comes to legal fees and stuff like that. You wouldn't happen to know those statistics?
I actually don't know the statistics, but I have read the same and similar articles, and it's one of the things that was presented to us from all the body-worn camera manufacturers, of which we did interview 3. The things that it saves on is frivolous complaints against the city, where people say that they were either beaten up or that they were abused in some way, shape, or form. And the body-worn cameras tend to nip that very quickly, and the frivolous complaints go away.
So basically, we're talking 60 months, 407. So
60 months, 407, 160,000 of which was given to us by New York State,
right,
which we have already received.
So we're talking 240 over 60 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so about 50,000.
Plus or minus.
A lot of lawyers are going to be disappointed.
Good. We'll save that in legal fees. Thank you.
All right, any questions from the public on this? All right, seeing none, on to item 3.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city council to enter into an employment contract with the police commissioner.
Yeah, so this is a 3-year agreement. The terms, if the city council or the city manager wanted to terminate the agreement, there would be a 4-month severance package. It also requires, I believe, a 4-month notice to
60-day notice.
60-day notice of resignation. And if there's any questions.
I don't have a question, it's a statement. I didn't want this on the agenda to begin with, and it was placed on the agenda at the discretion of the acting city manager. I don't think that I need to remind anyone there's an election coming up in just a little over a month, and I just really don't feel the time is right for this.
Any other comments from the council? Okay.
Yes. Tina, respectfully, I have to disagree with you. Elections should never be a reason to stop the business of the city. Okay? This is back in January, we voted to give 3 contracts to the comptroller, to the corporate counsel, and to the police commissioner. The corporate counsel and the comptroller got their contracts. The police commissioner did not. The fact is that there is if a new group comes in and they want to replace the police commissioner, they have to pay him 4 months. The police commissioner over the last 9 months has been acting both as a city manager and a police commissioner. The city manager's salary is normally $17,000 a month. The police commissioner, who does not get insurance, health insurance, saved us money in that respect. He does get $2,000, but he saves us about $20,000 in health insurance. And for 9 months, he did not get that $17,000, so the city basically saved the $17,000. Now, if a new administration comes in and they want to get rid of him immediately, the city's still 5 months ahead. 5 months ahead. And the commissioner, the city manager, is not asking for that, has never asked for any compensation for that. Since Ron's been here, he has been working an average of 15 hours a day. I wouldn't even let my attorneys work that much if they wanted to. Not that they want to, but that's a ridiculous amount of work, since he's been city manager. So, since he's been, acting city manager, he's still doing the job, okay? I don't think when a new administration comes in, it's fair to the city to immediately replace the vital people. I don't know that they would. I'm not saying that they would take that move, but I don't think it's fair. And I think what we came up with was a very good compromise. But the part that bothers me the most is Ron asked for his contract. And to be honest, it doesn't give him that much assurance. 4 months is not a lot. But he asked for his contract, and we wanted to put it out to attorneys. For one reason or another, it kept getting delayed, and here we are before an election, and we had told him, we had promised him, actually, that we have to wait until the PBA contract is finished. I don't know if people thought that Ron would actually achieve this after 20 years of, since the last contract, but he actually achieved it. And to me, when you make a promise to an employee, you have to fulfill it, election or not, okay? That's called integrity. And I don't think people would want to work in a place where city council makes a promise to them, and then the city council says, no, you know what, we're concerned about our election, so we're not fulfilling the promise. I understand if a new administration comes in, they might want to put their own people in. I understand that. And that's why when Donna had 6 months, we changed it to 4. To make sure that the city wouldn't be hurt. And that's why when you figure it, the amount of money that was saved with the insurance and not having Donna's salary puts the city way ahead of it. So I also did some research on what other police commissioners are making. And I only got to, some of them were from 2021 and some of them for 2022. And I'll just give you a few, actually more than a few. Center Island, $250,000. Floral Park, $250,000. Freeport, $317,400. Hempstead, $364,000. Well, I have 22. $271,818. Kensington, I don't even know where that is. Great. Okay. How big is that police force? 3?
They have about, I think, 4 police officers.
Okay. 267,558. Lake Success, 301,131. It goes on and on. It turns out that Ron, right now, when he gets this contract, will be, I think, the second lowest paid police commissioner in Nassau County. It's not fair. You make a promise to a guy, you give him a lowball amount compared to what his comparable commissioners are making, and then you don't want to do it. You don't want to fulfill your promise. I'm sorry. That's just not that's a lack of integrity. Thank you.
Just to follow up, Councilman Lester, I never promised anyone anything. Okay, Phyllis. Better? Mr. Lester, I never promised anyone anything. I think it's important for everyone to know how things actually get on an agenda. It rarely comes from a city council. It is not in my wheelhouse to know how much cement or how much toilet paper to purchase or buy. When a director of operations or the Department of Public Works tell me they need this money I know that they have done their due diligence. They are written by the Corporation Council with all the legal whereas verbiage to ensure things are done properly about the request from the staff that need the money in order to purchase items and make the city function. This item is not my item. While I recognize the effort that has gone into crafting this agreement, I believe it is my duty to voice my concerns and advocate for what I believe is the best interest of the residents and taxpayers of our city. I understand the passion and toxicity of social media. I want to recognize all the newcomers, thank you all for coming tonight, that have read the falsehoods and I have made the choice to be here with you this evening. And I'm willing to listen to your concerns and your opinions as well. This is what democracy looks like. I hope after deliberations that you acknowledge that 90% of what is being portrayed is untrue. The agenda item does not entitle anyone ever to make $600,000. That would be insane. If you recall that it was one administration that tried to do that, and frankly, that's one of the reasons that you put me here. Contracts are uncommon in our city for appointed positions. I don't wish to set a precedent, and when an overwhelming number of you put me here, that was one of the things that we did as a whole. We did not want to cloud good governance by any administration again. I want to make it clear that my intention is not to obstruct progress or stifle collaboration, nor do I want to dismiss the good work of the police commissioner. I truly believe that this is the right thing to do. It is absolutely nothing, and let me repeat this one more time for the people that have been getting their information primarily from social media. This has absolutely nothing to do with politics. When it comes to local politics, I am the most apolitical person up here. Believe me, I hear it every day. It's not personal. Of course it's personal. But I'm a big girl wearing my big girl pants and making big girl decisions. And I'm going to ask my fellow council members, as we listen to the public, to think about their vote as well. Thank you.
Okay, comments from the public. Ms. Serafin. I'm sorry, yeah, thank you. Sorry, yes, come on. No. Behind you.
Good evening. To be a good city manager and a police commissioner, you must have certain skills that you cannot put on a resume, such as integrity, communication, empathy, respect of others, self-awareness, professionalism, just to name a few. On these Tuesdays that I started coming here, in the beginning of the summer, I was asked to give my name and address. Then one Tuesday, a henchman from Equinor got up to speak to talk about their errors and how they were going to repair. He didn't have to give his name or address. He just spoke. But he didn't have to give this address, and the citizens in Long Beach showed their dismay by all of us booing and asking out loud, what's his name and address? We booed. My voice is of course very distinct and loud. I was picked on. The whole court booed. And because of the discrepancy of what you did to the residents versus this billion-dollar company's henchmen. All of a sudden, you don't need to ask anymore their name and address. For weeks, no one was doing it. You started all of a sudden today, which I find irony. But you said that it had to be for the record. That's what you told me on my first thing. Had to give name and address for the record. But that man did not. This made Mr. Walsh irate. Mr. Walsh showed lack of self-control, got up, and he was a bully. I did nothing wrong, boo. The irony of this was that night that for riptides, it was discussed about how you could not arrest someone. But he said, I'm getting an officer to escort you out. That was not enough for Mr. Walsh, for a little 120-pound female. He got up, just booed. He got up, tried to show off. He left the podium, walked all the way and made a showcase of this and put his nose in my face and said, you must leave. He threatened me and to have me arrested, which is funny. As I said, you talked about someone burglarizing riptides, but you said you couldn't arrest anyone. You showed lack of decorum, unprofessionalism, and not any sophistication that is needed for this job. You also is your reputation of a dictator and a retaliation. Many feel that you retaliate at the little slightest thing that gets you upset, and you do something about it. That is your reputation, sir. I feel that this should not, no one should vote no on this contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reinhardt.
Good evening. Mike Reinhardt, 11 Dalton. A few council meetings ago, Denise Ford came up with some questions regarding the city manager search. And Mr. Bendo, you referenced that we were very close to an election and it wasn't the right time. I agreed with you. This type of contract, even closer to an election, sets an objectionable precedent. Contracts like this effectively hinders a future council majority's ability in setting the policy of the city. This type of proposed contract creates an unnecessary financial obligation that will inevitably end up costing the city if a future administration decides to move in another direction. I'm trying to look at this from a pure business perspective and taking all emotion out of that, so apologies. How does this benefit the city doing this now so close to an election? Let the residents pick who they want for council and let those people decide who will fill key management positions without handcuffing future administrations and the will of the residents. I just wanted to keep it brief because I know a lot of people want to speak.
Okay, I'm just going to correct one thing in your script there. I never said we were not going to do a city manager search this close to the election. What I said was the timing of the search was very important, that we could not have finalist candidates in the June, July timeframe because you can't hire somebody just before an election like that. What I said is the timing was such that we needed the finalists to be available right around the time or after the election. That is why I said we were waiting for the right time to start the search.
Understood. It was just referencing being close to an election. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right here.
Hi, I think you all know who I am. Jen Seraphin, 107 Neptune. Nothing personal against anything. I'm so glad you guys got a contract done. That's a great job. Again, question. I have been asking, I've emailed about the city manager. I've been told that it's getting closer. My biggest question here is I read this contract and first of all, what is your contract that just must have expired? Did you have a contract, Mr. Walsh?
No, I don't.
You've been working without a contract as...
No, I do not have a contract.
So when Donna left, you came on with no contract?
The city council asked me if I would step up and cover the position for the time that it took them to find a permanent replacement.
As city manager, but I'm saying as police commissioner, did you have a contract?
No, I did not have a
So
contract.
there was no contract. So what did previous police commissioners have? Was it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Is this a typical contract that we're writing, or is this different? Like, what did the city of Long Beach usually have?
Well, we had voted at the beginning of the year to give contracts to key people, and I'll tell you why.
You're not answering my question. What did we do in the past, is what I'm asking.
I just said we started in January.
There were no
We
contracts.
Okay.
voted to give key people contracts because the poaching for key people has gotten ridiculous. And the amount of money that they're being offered has gotten ridiculous. And they feel like, we would like a little bit of security. Now, I personally don't think 4 months is a lot of security, but I understand if that's how people feel. I have a hard enough time retaining my attorneys because people are always trying to hire them.
Okay, can I finish my questioning? So we've never had a contract for police commissioner.
No, we
The
have.
previous police commissioner may have had a contract.
Okay.
I think he may have.
No.
That's what I'm asking. I just wanted to know.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay, so here's my other issue with this contract. In this contract, it says the only person that can terminate the police commissioner, which I'm not saying I want him terminated, is the city manager, and he's the city manager. So it really needs to be rewritten until we get a city manager. It does not work. Like, think about that as the council. It doesn't make sense. You cannot sign that until we have a city manager. Like, that doesn't work because nobody can fire him until we hire a city manager.
It's actually the charter that requires, it's the city manager who hires and terminates. So the contract is...
He's the city manager.
Well, understood, but that's a different issue.
So that contract really is not ethical at this point. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Well, you don't think that we could instantly appoint an acting city manager if we needed to get rid of him?
I guess, but it's just not, it's really not.
I know, but that's one of the reasons we want to proceed with the city manager.
But you see why it would make the
Of
community
course.
kind of like, hey, this doesn't really look right.
Well, of course, and that's why on the agenda tonight is hiring a firm to get us these people for the city manager. We're trying to move forward with that. Listen, the guy's been doing double duty for no pay.
I'm not saying he's not, I'm just
Yeah,
saying
we want to
you've
get him
gotta-
out of it
Okay.
as soon as possible. So, I'm not concerned about that because it's up to the city council to appoint an acting city manager, which we can do at any time.
But the timing is, like Tina said, the timing's not really the best timing because of all of this, like the way the contract goes. That's just my piece. You don't have to agree with me. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Finn?
Good evening, everybody. How are you? Thank you for your honesty there. Appreciate it. Candidness and candidacy, I guess, too. But
Just, can you identify yourself for the record to start?
I'm Brendan Finn.
Thank you.
114 Grand Boulevard. I didn't think you had to do that anymore. That's what Kathleen said. Okay. I beg to disagree with you, Roy. I have to say that, but I want to ask Ms. Treston. After your statement, I'm a little confused. Are you in favor of this, bringing this resolution up today, this contract, or against it?
I think I was pretty clear.
It wasn't clear to me, so I'm asking you, could you be more clear?
Well, that's what the vote will tell you.
Yeah.
So this isn't the time to tell you what the vote's going to be.
Well, I thought the
vote
statement
is-
was as to whether this was a good time to do it or not. And I didn't really understand what, at the end of the statement, what she said.
Oh, if you're asking about the timing, that's something.
So you think we should this should be on the agenda tonight?
I said no. It
You
should
do?
not be on the agenda.
It should not be on the agenda.
That's what I said.
Okay, so Ms.
said this
Posteroli
item-
says it should not be on the agenda, and you say it should not be on the agenda, and McInnes is not here because she's a lame duck. So two people want it on the agenda,
She's
and,
not here because she's in Italy right now.
oh, good for her, because it's been raining here for crazy, right? So, good for her. So, the point is, as you said, this is how democracy works. Democracy works when the people vote, select a city council, and then that city council implements a government, managers and other things.
Brendan, I'm sorry to stop. Good.
Okay.
Do you want everything to stop right now until the election and have 3 months of just not doing anything for the city?
But we've had months and months and months to offer a contract, and then to wait a month before the election, that doesn't really make sense, does it?
I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but to say that you want this, us to just stop working?
I never said anything like that. What I'm saying is, and I think it sounds like you agree with me, you've had months and months, to offer a contract since you agreed to do these contracts back in January, was that, or February? So you've had a long time to do it, but you choose to do it a month before an election when there may be a change up there on the dais, and there may not be. Just 1 second. But there may be a change, and I think that those people should have the right, or the ability, not the right, the ability to implement the government. I think this is sort of like a repudiation of what the voters would want. Now, maybe the voters will vote a different way. We don't know, but they should get the chance. The people of Long Beach should say. So if you think it shouldn't be on the agenda and you think it shouldn't be on the agenda, I'm just wondering why it is on the agenda.
Well, let me tell you, as I said before, when you make a promise, integrity, I don't care what time it is, if it's the day before the election, you make a promise. That's the way I grew up. That's the way my parents raised me. you fulfill the promise. Now, unfortunately, it took 2 years to get that PBA contract, you know? And when the PBA contract came in, the council, not Ms. Treston, but the rest of the council had told Mr. Walsh, you get your contract. Now, it's not fair, in my opinion, that he didn't get his contract when Ina and Dennis got their contracts, but that was the condition. He fulfilled the condition unbelievably, extraordinarily well. And so now to say, and let's be honest, Brendan, it's not that the new people coming in can't get rid of him. They can get rid of him. It's the cost.
Let's stop for one second. So
yes.
This is really not about you, Commissioner, okay? This is not about you. This is about, I would say, I don't want to use the word due process, but I'll say, as you said, democratic government, how it works. An election means the people who come in, and it may not change and it may change, they get to implement the government that the people who voted for them want them to implement.
Absolutely.
That's democracy.
Right.
So you're
And they
taking
can
that
do
away.
No, we're not. What we're saying is that you have to pay, if you decide to do it, you can do it the day you're inaugurated. The day you're inaugurated.
Okay.
I don't think that's fair to the people of the city, but you can do it the day you're inaugurated, but it's going to cost. It's going to cost 4 months.
Well, so let's go to that for a second then. From a business perspective, right, and when you offer long-term contracts, usually you offer a long-term contract to someone, as you said, you need to pay people to get good people here. And I'm not saying he's good or bad. You obviously think he's very good, and we'll leave it at that. But he has a 211 waiver from the state so that he could have the job here. That 211 waiver is only applicable to the job here in Long Beach.
Okay.
So with that, he doesn't, the commissioner does not have the option to go to another
Mr.
town or
Your
municipality.
time is up, so please wrap up.
I don't think I spoke during that whole 3 minutes, like the whole thing, three,
you
did
did.
I?
The clock
Yeah?
stops.
It stops when
This
the-
clock
Okay.
stops when...
All right, I'll come back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brendan.
In the back there.
Hi, Tim Kramer, 361 East Broadway. I just want to echo what everybody else is saying. You know, when you look at the election's 40 days out, 3-year contract, okay, so not only is stifling the next incoming council, but quite possibly you're stifling the council after that, okay? And I would argue that you guys are governing for yourselves and not the people of this community at this point. So, and I think it's egregious, quite honestly. It's egregious. 40 days out, there's no reason to do this. I would guess that if Mr. Walsh has the confidence that he's, doing a good job, that he could get a contract in the next council. So, in my opinion, I think that quite clearly it should be tabled. And I'm going to give you specific reason as to why. I'm going to take you back to the CCE meeting. When all the union workers are here, you guys invited the union workers in an effort to stifle and intimidate us. Mr. Walsh called me out into the hallway with a couple of friends of mine and told us, and I quote, this is a quote, "If you start with these guys, I can't protect you." And keeping in mind, he said this to law-abiding taxpayers, people who own businesses in this town, have raised children in this town, and I thought that was an incredible insult. Having the police commissioner say, "I can't protect you," and this council is in the process of investing quite possibly $750,000 into this man. And for that, I think it should be tabled.
Sir, I'm sorry. Did you just say $750,000?
Well, with the car. Over 3 years, the 660 with the car, roughly $750, right? So $750,000, and you know, it's a lot of money, and you know, when you speak to people like that, it's a major insult. So for that reason, I think it should be tabled.
Okay.
I'd like to add some clarity to that, John.
And I'm just going to correct one thing you said. We did not invite those union people here for the Equinor thing.
Thank you.
Just to add a little bit of clarity to that. What I did, Mr. Kramer, was I went up to the other side, which had 500 or 600 union members here, and I spoke to the leadership of that side, and I said to them, you might hear some very inflammatory and antagonistic remarks in the crowd. I'd appreciate it if you could control your members and make sure that nothing bad happens. They assured me of that. And a very similar conversation to you. And what I said with you and the people that I brought outside was, please don't be antagonistic. State your place. I understand your piece. I understand that you're passionate, but let's make sure this doesn't turn into something where I can't protect you. So I think that was responsible, because I had 2 police officers up here in a room full of 260 people. And I didn't want it to turn into something where your safety or the safety of anybody else here was in jeopardy because emotions got in the way of clear thinking. That's what I did.
Okay. Mr. Micchio.
My name is Joseph Micchio, and I'd just like a brief comment on that contract. I think the police officers work hard and deserve that contract. It's obvious they sacrificed a lot. As a former police sergeant myself in the city and a line of duty death, my grandfather was shot and killed in the line of duty, and I was named after him. I have a unique appreciation for the work the police officers do, and the contract that I saw, they sacrificed a lot for the city. That being said, I do reflect the sentiment of several of the city council members here about the timing of this contract, and we have a vote going ahead, the contract for the city manager position, that is. And I also have a question for Councilman Lester. So what you're saying is you make a promise, you keep a promise to somebody no matter what. That's correct, right? I mean, that's integrity, right?
That's called integrity.
Yes, okay. But you've also got a greater promise you've made. You've sworn an oath to the city of Long Beach to look out for the city of Long Beach. So if you've made a promise to an individual that, after talking with everybody here, other people, which apparently that conversation hasn't really taken place on a wide scale, all right? And it turns out that your promise to some individual, or to an individual, to be respectful, is not in the best interest of the city at this time, all right? Not in the best interest of the public.
But
not in the best interest of the electorate that is about to vote, okay? Are you saying it's ethical to not change your vote? Are you saying you're going to keep a promise that you're saying you can't change your promise based on what the feedback you get from the public here?
Joe, the only feedback I have heard is people, political people, who are coming out to attack on this. I have not heard anything outside of a couple of individuals about Ron's ability as a police commissioner. A matter of fact, I have heard, and I've gotten emails from lots of people saying what a great police commissioner he is. I have looked, I have watched him, I have seen his performance, and he is probably the best commissioner I have ever seen, and I have been around for a long time, Joe. So I don't think in any way this would hurt the city of Long Beach. And I am very sensitive to the people who might be elected. And that's why we're talking about a 4-month. They can replace him immediately. Nobody's saying that we're forbidding them or stopping them in any way from immediately replacing him. There's just a penalty like any other contract. And given the penalty, and given what Ron has given, the city's, like I said, over 5 months ahead. Because they, in all honesty, they owe Ron for being city manager and police commissioner, and Ron's not asking for it. So what we're talking about is a penalty. That's it. 4 months. That's it. And as far as I'm concerned about the city, this is not the entire city of Long Beach, but the hundreds of people I have heard from are very happy with his performance as police commissioner.
You haven't answered my question, Roy. My question is, if you've made a promise to a person, okay, that goes against or may go against in the future, you're saying you would never change that promise.
No.
I'm asking you right now.
Right. No.
Are you capable of changing that promise, or you're saying you're going to stick to your promise no matter what?
No. That's ridiculous, Joe. If somebody says, I'll never murder someone, and comes up with a knife, you
Roy,
know,
come on, stop with the rhetoric on this. This is not a court of law
Joe,
here. This is a city
Joe,
council meeting.
You know what? When circumstances, when somebody who you've made a promise to shows that they're not qualified, shows that they're not deserving of the promise, of course you have to change it. That's what life is about,
that's good, Roy.
Joe.
That's all I wanted to hear. You can change your position. That's all I want to hear. I was a little confused. I'm happy to hear that you will base your decision on with the reality at hand. I have an objection to, on behalf of a person who's asked me to speak on their behalf because of the confidentiality of the matter and the minor age of the person involved. This commissioner has a conflict of interest due to his nature of his city manager position and police commissioner position. The matters that the family has forwarded to the city council in a confidential manner, for the reasons aforesaid, put the commissioner in a situation where there's an open issue the city council has to decide on, because the commissioner has not recused himself. I make no accusations either way about the commissioner himself, other than that there is clearly legitimate issue of conflict of interest that has been requested up to the city council to make a decision on because of that conflict of interest. And until that matter is resolved, and it is a serious matter, by the way, then I do not believe in any way, shape, or form it would be ethical for any one of you to vote in favor of this contract now. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Ms. Kramer.
Good evening. Christina Kramer. So I just want to echo and thank Tina for speaking up about the timing of this vote for this job, what is this, the contract. I noticed that there was a lot of cuts for the officers, but I'm just wondering where the officers are, because I didn't see any of them come up here in support of that PBA contract. I know that there were a couple of members in the community who came up and supported it, but it would have been a little bit more impressive as a member of the community if the police came and said that they were appreciative of the contract and the contents. I'm not speaking to whether or not they're happy about it, but I would have loved it if some police officers were here.
Christine, the president of the PBA came up and
Right,
spoke.
but-
I don't know if you
but-
noticed that. The president of the PBA.
I did notice that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is actual officers that the contract would affect.
That's why they have a...
Okay,
That's why they
this
have
is my opinion, and I would have liked to hear from some officers, okay? So if
Ms.
you...
Kramer, if I could, if my officers were to come to me and they were to say something to me like, hey, we'd like to come up and speak on your behalf, I would advise them not to. In the political climate of this city, in the political ramifications of this city, I would hate to think that any one of my officers will put themselves in harm's way for me personally. I'm a big boy. I'll take this on my own.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter for me. If my manager was doing something great, I would step up and speak on their behalf.
I'm just telling you how I
know that
felt
they
about it.
shouldn't do it
I
in
appreciate what you're saying.
retaliation, but if, I'm just saying, for me personally, I would have liked to hear from some of the officers. So living in Long Beach, we all know everybody in the world is removed by only 6 degrees, but here in Long Beach, we're closer here. It's only 2 degrees of separation. We all talk to each other. We all respect and love our police officers. Our police officers' spouses are part of our community. They're our parents. They're owning businesses, and we all hear about what's going on. I find it very peculiar that item 1 and item 3 are on the same calendar agenda. I feel like it kind of is a little bit like a playbook. And we hear the word on the street is that it's very difficult to work with you sometimes, Mr. Walsh. We've seen you be aggressive towards the community residents. But I've also seen you do a good job on other aspects. You've been in my home and spoke with my son tenderly when we were in trouble. So I've seen both sides of Ron Walsh. So I'm not here to say anything about that. The things I'm mostly concerned about are the gas ring. That still hasn't been fixed. That's costing our taxpayers over $200,000. The car situation, I don't think you should be having a car that you drive that's loaded with city equipment to your home and back. I think a better use of that car would be to leave that here, and if you are entitled to a car, to have something that's more economical. And my last statement would be, how would you feel if your officers were working 12 hours for you as a police officer and then went and worked another job? Because you've been actively pursuing, you are technically the acting city manager, so you can't be putting 100% into your job as commissioner. So I think it's really important that you decide on either one of those. So for those reasons, I strongly feel that this should be tabled, especially if you're pursuing the acting city manager job. And you should be correcting people when they call you the city manager, unless that is your title. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. As you walk back to your seat, Ms. Kramer, the gas rings are actually currently being installed as we speak. The pieces actually came in early, and they're being installed right now on our buses. We anticipate that it will be rolled out completely within the next month and a half or so to the rest of the fleet, maybe 2 months. I personally would like to thank Mike Robinson, Dave Koenig, and Cindy Rogers for really championing and pushing that project through. It is very challenging. We've already upgraded our pumps and the software, and we had to wait for certain pieces to come in in that regard. So I just figured I'd give you an update with that.
Okay, Ms. Odom.
Jackie Odom from Long Beach. Good evening to all. We, the residents, the city of Long Beach, voted and trusted that the city council will work efficient so that our city would run smoothly. We have high expectations. At this point, the council needs to step up their game. Gayton was the past city manager, fought for approximately a year for a contract. The council, against voting on Gayton's contract right before the election. It was stated that the vote should wait until the new council was seated. Today's subject, the Long Beach Police Commissioner's position was vacant. Approximately 10 police applied for the position. They were interviewed by a board. Ron Walsh was selected and hired to become the next Long Beach Police Commissioner. One standard rule should be before or after election to appoint someone for a contract. He has been fighting for a contract for approximately over 2.5 years. We should have one standard rule. This evening, we are here with a question. Are we going to give Commissioner Walsh a 3-year contract? Commissioner is a die-hearted cop and has proven himself he is not a city manager and should be dismissed from that position so that he can function fully as the police commissioner. He has shown to the city of Long Beach that he is capable. There is no perfect person on God's green earth. And I pray here tonight that the city council make the right decision for the city and don't let politics influence their decision.
Thank you. Any more comments from Legislator Ford?
Denise Wood, Ohio Avenue. Politics brought us, all of us, though City Council, I as a legislator, brought us all to where we are, serving the public in elected positions. Politics is during the election. When you all took your oath of office, you put behind politics and you entered into the position as a city council member, somebody who took an oath of office that you would work to represent and protect and work for the city as best as you can. We see now, all we did for the past year or so, we've had acting positions. We've had an acting city manager, we had an acting police commissioner. And, there is something that it does not do well for the city. There's no stability. You knew in the beginning of the year that you should have given him a contract, but then let's talk about the contracts. Because never before in the history of Long Beach did we provide contracts to anybody other than a city manager and those unions that we entered into a work contract with. But then you made that change, but at that time you did not provide stability by making somebody a police commissioner fully. And I think that the residents have been shortchanged, and I know that I've spoken to you about this beforehand. But you know what? You need to start looking at this, and with this acting and always, like, everything just seems to be nebulous. Like, we don't know who's doing what, whose position, we're moving people around. There is nothing, and you need to start bringing stability back into the city of Long Beach. And like what we had in the county, what we did was that we ended up saying that we can't have people acting. We need to make sure that we have people put in positions that could do the job. And that is why in the county, we had it so that somebody cannot be acting in a position for more than 6 months. And if there isn't a reason that has to be extended, it has to come before us so that we could vote upon it. When we look at, and one of the reasons, Roy, that you had said why you needed to do these contracts was that to get good qualified people to work here. But that's what happens with all government jobs, whether or not you're working in the federal government, if you're going to work for the state, if you're going to work for the county, you're going to work for the city of Long Beach, you know that you're appointed, and you know that there is a possibility that this job may not last you like for more than 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, or 8 years. And that is a lot of people who do these jobs, they take that, they take that chance. So, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that we need to start revamping everything. And I think that you have to start taking a look at these positions and stop this with everybody acting. Now you're going to have, you want to vote and possibly pass this item where you're going to then have somebody as an acting, you're going to give him a contract. We don't even have a city manager that's going to sign that. And then for you to say that, all this time we're looking for a city manager, but that we could easily put somebody in position to be able to sign this contract for him. I just think that it's a wrong message. This has nothing to do with politics. This is government pure and simple. And I think that the city has not benefited, I'm sorry, but the city has not benefited from all of this where we're acting and all of this confusion. I think that we need to be able to say that this is what we need to do, these are the people that we need to be put into place, and let's get on with it. And I think, though, at this time, the timing is a little wrong.
I totally agree with you, Denise. You know what, I hate the idea of an acting city manager, but we can't, you know what, when we put it out last time, we really didn't get the caliber that would serve Long Beach. And to be honest, I think we're probably, until we have permanent one, we're probably looking at another acting, and I hate it. I really don't. But you know what? It is getting hard to find qualified people. It's getting ridiculous in every place. And you know that private industry, I mean, 300,000 or 400,000 is nothing in a salary in private industry with talented people.
But this is the government. The private industry is separate. And a lot of times when people go, I'm just responding to him.
That's fine. Have the conversation later. It's getting
all right, I'm
late.
sorry. You know what? I'm sorry that I went above my 3 minutes, and I apologize to all of you out there that I went beyond, and when we talk about the city manager item, I will be back up. But thank you. Thank you for mansplaining to me what 3 minutes is.
Okay. All right. Mr. Hodge.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, here in our great city. One thing I would like to say is that, Roy, as you said, and I'll just say to you, you said that you gave a promise, and you know, it's always right to do what is right. The number one thing that we can give our promise to is the residents and the taxpayers of our great city of Long Beach. We should not just give individuals a promise. Exempt jobs, at-will jobs are just that. And the people understand when they're getting those jobs and interviewing for those jobs. I'll say that it's not personal to the commissioner. The commissioner has an impeccable resume. He's done a great job being a chief and working with Nassau County and all of the training, FBI training, and doing so many things that he's done. Had the pleasure of walking him around town, meeting a lot of the residents. So this is not personal to Ron Walsh. And I think that when you have, and I think you have to have confidence that you could be having some of the same people there, Roy. So I don't think we should say, you know, just when new people come, because you may see some of the same people. You don't know. The residents will do what they do in November, but I'm confident that the people that will be there will be able to look over the accomplishments and do what is right on behalf of the residents. I believe at this time and so close to election, like when we spoke about the city manager's position, we said it was too close, and we can immediately change the city manager, but we didn't. And we have a person that's doing his best doing 3 jobs. The Office of Emergency Management Director, the Police Commissioner, and the acting city manager. He's doing a diligent job trying to do his best, but worrying about 3 different positions. Some may feel he's not doing it. Some may feel he's doing it great. I have to say on my behalf, on what I've got a chance to accomplish and work with him, so it's not personal to him, but it is too close to an election that I think that, again, the city council members that this city blessed with in November to have this great opportunity to represent our great city, one of the best cities in the world, I think they should be able to make that decision.
They will be able to. They will be able to, James. That's what we made sure.
Hold on one second. You said that they should be, it will only be a penalty. If you can prevent a penalty, Esquire, I think you would not want to go into something knowing that you're going to get a penalty if you do it. It's not a, Roy, and I hear you and you speak well of him, and listen, it's not personal to him, but you cannot make a promise to an exempt or at-will employee if the presidents have never had a police commissioner have a contract. And I think that we're putting him in a position that he shouldn't be in. It's not personal. It's the position and what, listen, I'm not saying the chart is all right, and I'm finishing my statement, but again, you said it's just a penalty and we can pay it. No, we can't pay another dime. I think that this should be voted on, not tabled, but I think not because of him. All right, I'm finishing now. Not personal, but I think it should be voted down.
Thank you. Gentleman over here. Yeah.
Alan Langer, 429 East Olive Street. So I'm a very simple person, so I'm going to separate out the city manager here from the police commissioner in terms of this, and I'm going to ask a very simple question. My favorite president happens to be Ronald Reagan, so I'm going to ask very simply, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago, 2 years ago? And the answer is very clearly yes in regards to public safety with Commissioner Walsh as our police commissioner. It's been very clear, as an Orthodox Jew, hate crimes have risen We don't need to look any further than Manhattan. See Orthodox Jews getting beaten in the streets by people, clubbed, hit just because they're walking around with a kippah on their head, as I'm wearing today. Commissioner Walsh has done an outstanding job as a police commissioner keeping the city safe. With major cities crumbling today, Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, with crime, it seems to me pretty simple. If the crime is down here, why are we talking politics in regards to this, about a contract and about one thing and about another? Personally, as a taxpayer, it's very simple. I'm happy to pay taxes if the city is safe. If the city is not safe, it's another discussion to have. I think it's pretty clear here that if our goal is actually to tamp down crime and to keep crime levels down, it's a very simple choice. I hope the council makes the right choice tonight and extends Commissioner Walsh's contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any more comments? Oh, Rabbi?
I also wanted to voice my support for granting a contract to Commissioner Walsh. As Mr. Langer noted, we do feel that Commissioner Walsh has done a fantastic job. And when you have something good in front of you, you don't want to let it go. If I understand correctly, had this contract been at issue in January, it would have been a shoo-in. So the only difference is, and at that point, you would have had the same exact 4-month penalty in the contract then that you have now. So effectively, there's no difference being a month out in front of an election versus having this contract negotiated in January. The penalty to the city would have been the same, and at that point, the issue would not have been an issue. So I don't see why this becomes an issue just as a democratic matter at this point. I would also note that any penalty that may arise or accrue to the city effectively was just saved to the city by Commissioner Walsh's tremendous negotiation of the PBA contract and all of the savings he gave to the city through that contract. And finally, to respond to someone earlier, it seems that if the actual city manager is the one that has jurisdiction over potentially terminating a contract with Commissioner Walsh, if anything, that should encourage the next city council to quickly appoint a city commissioner, a city manager, which is in the city's best interest. So given all of these arguments from a political standpoint, I don't understand why this should be an issue, and I would strongly encourage granting Commissioner Walsh a contract. Thank you.
Any more comments? All right, seeing none, on to item 4.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing corrections to the 2023 City of Long Beach Comprehensive Plan.
Excuse me. So this is a modification to the comprehensive plan after certain residents had pointed out some errors or clarifications that they wished that they wanted to be made in there. The county has relooked at this, and now we just have to recertify.
Okay, any questions from the council?
No.
Seeing none, any from the public? All right, on to item 5.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 23-24 fiscal year.
So this particular item is to...
Hang on, just what? Ms. Lake, did you want to say something? Yes, I did raise my... Oh, come on, I'm sorry, come on up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time. In regards to Census Tract 4165, I did forward an email earlier this evening. The actual boundary is from Long Beach Road to Washington. That's the census tract. Within the census tract, there are 5 census. Within the census block, there are 5 census tracts, which is inclusive of North Park. So, and the portions, the different portions of North Park in compared to track 1, 2, 3. Okay, North Park is pretty much dissolved. So I'll put that to the side. And I would like to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, to include the 1960s urban renewal of East Harrison Street within the North Park community. Change order 72497, C block closed, Harrison Street. I would also like to say I lived in a 3-family home on East Harrison Street, a legal 3-family home that was purchased by my family. 5991, lots 32 and 33. To move forward, to have progress, we all must know where we came from to end up where we're going. It depends on whose version, what is progress. Okay, I can tell you for a fact, the community, North Park, has been raised so many times, and it's always been for the greater good of others. Now, we all have a right to our opinions. We don't have to agree or disagree, but we should hear and listen to each other's concerns and points of views. I'm 66 years old now. I've personally witnessed a lot. I am glad to say I wasn't raised in poverty, but I lived in North Park and I grew up in North Park. I was extremely fortunate to have the understanding that I do. So that's why I am extremely opinionated. And I think not just having the years designated in the report, okay, there should be some clarification. And I must say this is the first time that any city administration has acknowledged that initial gentrification. There were many homes. It didn't matter if you were wealthy or you were poor. You had to reside within North Park. So I would like to thank this particular administration to at least the initial acknowledgement of what occurred. Okay, but without having true clarification of the set of events that occurred, because everyone is familiar with the wall-bound shopping mall, 5921096, okay, which gentrified another block. And also, Mr. Walsh, I would like to say thank you for posting the no right-hand turn on East Market Street. It made a tremendous difference. And say, come on, you gave other people extra.
And you took more time too, but it's
Okay.
getting late and.
Is there someone else who's going to speak?
There's lots of more agenda items.
Well,
We got lots more agenda items.
I
Plus,
understand,
good and
but I
welfare.
think it's important as the city moves forward. We speak of the super block. 80 Riverside was part of that gentrification.
Ms. Lake, you're free to come
Okay.
back up with good and welfare.
All right, I'll continue the conversation at that point.
Good, thank you. All right, on to item 5.
So this item is for the fire department to pay for the Westchester Fire Academy for firefighters to go to that academy, as well as paramedic training. It's basically a transfer from the safety equipment line to the training expense line.
Okay, any questions from the council? Any from the public?
I just have one thing. Didn't we just have a graduate from from one of these trainings?
Yeah, so we're sent new firefighters to the academy, and we had a graduate from the paramedic training, and this is also to get the other firefighters trained to be paramedics.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the public on this? Seeing none, on to item 6.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an agreement for the performance of fiscal exams.
So this particular item, each year firefighters are entitled to and required to have a medical examination, both volunteer and the paid fire force, and this is to fund that requirement with this contract.
Okay, any questions from the council? Any from the public? On to item 7.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the retention of consulting services.
All right, I guess I'll do this one. So this is to enter into a contract with an executive search firm to commence the formal search for our permanent city manager. So, any questions from the council?
No, but I have a statement.
What's that?
Something to read.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
As is she still here? As Legislative Ford pointed out, we do need to have a search for a city manager. It's a role that holds a paramount importance in shaping the future of Long Beach. We need to seek an individual who embodies a rare combination of vision, dedication, and a profound understanding of the unique challenges and opportunities that our city faces. The city manager will be entrusted with the responsibility of driving progress, fostering collaboration, and ensuring that our community thrives in every way possible. We are not merely seeking an administrator, but a visionary leader who possesses the ability to inspire and mobilize our diverse population towards success. As no one has knocked on our door yet with those qualities, the city requires at this time that it's imperative to move, that we hire at a very good rate this contract has, this firm to assist in a new search. Thank you, Mr. Pendo.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the public? Mr. Finn?
Brendan Finn, 114 Grand. Very simple question. Why did it take so long to do this? Why did you wait? Donna Gaden, she resigned in January?
Yes, we explained all this multiple times. I explained it to your running mate a little while ago.
Tonight?
So I'll be happy to explain
Tonight
it again.
you did?
Yes.
But didn't we just bring it up now?
Talking about the timing of the issue.
Okay, all right.
So, which is what you're bringing up. You're bringing up the timing of the issue, correct?
Yes, because it's up now.
So I will explain it for the second time tonight.
Okay.
Doing a search for a city manager and then having finalist candidates.
Oh, okay. Roy said that they weren't up to snuff.
You know, 6,
okay.
7. No, it's got nothing to do with that.
I thought
Having
that's what he said.
finalist candidates.
The prior search before Donna.
Nobody is going to take a job when there's an election a few months away. So we intentionally, and we announced this clearly, stated that the intention was to start the search so that there would be a pool of finalist candidates shortly after the election. So whoever the makeup of the council is at that time, whoever, if there's council-elect people, then can decide, do they want to tap into this pool or not?
But the city
But the
council
point
has
is-
the city council has the responsibility of selecting the city manager and appointing one. So for all these 10 months, you should have been doing that. That's your job. That's what you should have been doing. You should have been looking for a city manager, and not an acting city manager, a city manager. Not that Mr. Walsh is not doing a good job or a bad job, but that's the job of the city council. And that's what the last discussion was about in Resolution 3.
So your supposition is that
I'm not supposing.
do a search and then say, we'll get back to you in 8 months or 6 months?
No, you appoint someone, you hire someone,
But-
that's your job.
You're
For 8
missing
months.
You're missing the point.
I don't think
Nobody's-
I'm missing it at all. I think you are missing it.
Nobody's going to come here.
Why wouldn't
that-
they? If someone needs a job as a city manager, why wouldn't they come
Mr. Finn,
and take a job if it's
We're working with a search professional.
right? I
And
understand.
this is the search professional telling us this, that nobody is going to come here. Nobody's going to move if they're out of state, uproot their family, absorb the expense of moving here for what's potentially a 6-month job. Nobody in their right mind is going to do that.
If they do a good job, it could be a 4-year job, 3-year job, right?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Over here.
Pat Mullaney, 210 West Bay Drive. Everybody else has spoken. I figured I might as well get up to say something. How much are we paying this consulting service?
$22,500.
So $22,500 coupled with potentially $75,000 if we vote on the third item, which would be 4 months' salary. So $100,000 that we would potentially just be throwing away come January 1st if there's a
No.
different council.
No. No, that's not how it works. The search firm, just as Mr. Bendo has pointed out, we did it this way, so if there is a change in city council, or if there's not, that person would be hired with the combination of, say, your friends, my friends. Come November, that everybody gets together.
They
would get that.
Whoever
pool
the
of
candidates
people.
that they say are, whatever the job,
Description.
not description, whatever consulting firm that is hired, whoever they come forward
Right,
with their
they're gonna
list,
put it-
assuming that list is going to be agreed upon with whoever's here. I'm just going back to what we were talking about earlier. I figured it was a little redundant to say it again. $75,000 isn't, it's a decent amount of money. I know, I understand why it's being put out there, but now it's another $20,000+ for a firm that we might not potentially use the candidate.
No, we would still use the firm. It's the candidates. The firm, you still need a professional firm
No,
to get the candidates. Regardless of who comes in January, they need candidates.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
That's why we need the firm.
But those candidates have always been chosen by an outside consulting firm, not just from the council themselves.
No.
That's what
This is
put
an
the city in
executive
trouble.
search firm.
That's what I know what it is.
Right, that does a search.
I'm not confused about that. The previous city managers that have been appointed, were they all chosen from executive consulting firms?
No, they were chosen, except for Donna, they were chosen by political party bosses. And that's how the
Yeah,
city got in trouble.
I understand your point right there. What I'm saying is for the first time now, it's a little unprecedented. We're spending money for a consulting firm to come up with potential candidates that we may or may not even choose to pick the pool from.
That's because
all.
we're not going to let a party boss pick our city
No,
manager.
I understand that. First of all, the tone tonight is bad. I would relax a little bit. I don't know if you even realize it, and I apologize if I come across as condescending, but that's definitely something that I understand it can be very frustrating, but that's kind of part of the job, I would imagine. Ms. Tresson, just to your point, though, $75,000, $100,000 to start the year off to potentially not have anyone is just the point I wanted to make, and from what you're telling me, I'm wrong.
I don't know if we're understanding each other's point.
If depending, again, I'm trying not to make it's going to be political, so I'm not going to bother saying
It
it.
also sounds like you're trying to have it both ways, because there's criticism that the search wasn't done before, but now there's criticism that the search is being done now.
I'm criticizing the fact that you're willing to waste $100,000 40-plus days before an election.
This contract has
Nothing to do.
absolutely nothing to do with this item.
I understand that.
Oh, okay.
But you're tying them together.
Well,
They
because
have
they're on the
nothing
same.
to do with each other.
Yeah, if they don't have anything to do with.
No, I
Two
understand
separate
that.
things. So, okay.
All right, maybe, I apologize. Maybe next time I'll script my argument a little bit better. I just thought $100,000,
But it's
when
not
does it end?
It's two separate items.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
I'm just adding the two of them together.
But you can't put them together because they don't go together.
Well, one's a city manager and one's a police commissioner.
One's a
Both-
police commissioner
both
contract.
are-
One is a
Both are
search
appointed
firm.
positions by potential city councils. That's the similarity.
Yes, but this is the search firm, not the city manager. There's no one in the city manager pool yet.
I understand that.
Okay. So then we agree. Almost, kind of,
Yeah.
sort of.
I'll sit down.
Okay. Any more? Legislator Ford.
Denise Wood, Ohio Avenue. Roy, I just want to apologize. I didn't mean to spar with you before because I know that you and I sometimes can share the same passion, and I know how you feel about being in your position and how seriously you take it. So kudos to you. But the city manager, you know, here we are now. Once again, we're going to be spending over $22,000 hiring a consulting firm to be able to find a candidate or candidates that can be vetted in order to be city manager. You know, we did this already. You hired a firm, how many, 3 years ago? You know, and we ended up with Donna Gate. And I understand, you know, the idea of like political bosses putting city managers in positions, I guess, because obviously that's how we got Jack Schneerman. So, and that was a Nassau County Democratic boss who did that to us and really helped the city in its decline. But I have to say that I think that would behoove all of you to take a step back and think about, you know, who you want to run the city. You know, you're sitting here, you help run the city as it is. And, you know, I just think that you just need to be able to maybe just send something out so that you could get qualified candidates to respond. And I know the last time we talked about this, John, you said, oh, you got from nail salons or people cleaning the streets and stuff like that. But I know for a fact that you probably got very good resumes from a lot of people that could have been qualified to be city manager. You know, we didn't have an IG, an inspector general in the county. And when we voted to put one in, we were tasked as legislators. So we formed a committee, and there were 5 of us that went on this committee, and we sent something out, they posted it. So we got resumes from people throughout the country, you know, within New York State and from outside the state. And we read through their resumes. You know, we did a vetting process. We all of us, you know, made our own determinations, and then we found the ones that we all agreed upon, and then we went through the process of interviewing the people. And I think that process at no cost to the taxpayers, no cost to the taxpayers. And we ended up with Jody Francis, who I think has served the county well as an inspector general. She's doing an excellent job. I think this, where you start handing something over to an outside company, just may not always work. You know, when we have people that come from outside and they want to help run our city, sometimes we lose what the city is about. We ended up losing familiarity. You know, there's sometimes when you're born here or you live here, and you know, you get it. You get the heart of the city. And when you can find that candidate that shares that passion for the city, then you know that you got somebody who will run this city and they will run it well. But I think that you should trust yourselves and not trust an outside person.
Denise, I just had one thing to one of your points. It's just so you know and you all know, part of what the process is, that what we're doing is we have really thought about and put together a very comprehensive and extensive job description with everything we would want for the residents to see. So we have been very, very involved as a council and people who live here for years and years, you know, on that piece, so you know. That.
All right, thank you very much. But you know what it is? You know, look what happened with, you know, and Donna Gayden, I liked her as a person, but where is she now? We ended up paying her over 6 months of salary that, you know, she was gone.
Just a quick question, because you bring it up. If you know someone that wants this position, please have them give us a call.
Well, I'll ask around. I mean, I really haven't thought about it, but, you know.
Because it sounds like you're passionate and you have someone in your back pocket ready to go.
I wish I did.
So
I
there
do.
you go. We don't either.
If I had that magic person, I would definitely call you, Liz, okay?
Everyone in this room, I think, because Mr. Walsh has been doing a yeoman's job of both. It's so hard. And if there is someone out in the city of Long Beach that is qualified to do this, please knock on my door tomorrow.
We had a lot of good ones. Ed Eaton served for many years, and he did a good job.
Coming back.
Yeah. Okay, but if I think of someone.
Can I offer to give them a ride to apply?
You know, just, I guess a little anecdote. You know, Denise, you brought this up before about hiring someone local, and others have too. Kind of reminded of something that happened when Donna Gaden first got here. And somebody politically connected walked up to her and started talking to her and said, "Do you know who I am?" And she said, "No." That was the reason we were able to turn this city around, because we took the politics, the "do you know who I am," out of the city manager job. So while somebody local might be the right person for the job, that should not be a required qualification to have the job. The job should be about a person's qualifications and experience, whether they lived on a mountaintop in Colorado or live on Michigan Avenue. It's their experience and what they bring to the position that matters. So, Ms. Serafin.
I have been asking about if you guys have been looking for somebody, probably in every email I've sent back from when I started sending emails. And you have never told me that you were waiting until this point. That's why I'm awfully confused.
We've discussed this numerous times at city council meetings.
Okay, well, I never heard that we were waiting because of the election, and I really do not understand why. So you're telling me nobody would take a job because an election's coming?
No,
Right.
it's not. It's
I
not
mean-
that the election is coming. So if you hired someone, let me just try. You hire someone, say in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, there's an election and there's a change. They don't like the city manager. That person has taken a job for 8 months and they're out.
I get that, but did you even, but you can assume that, but that's you know what they say about assuming. You didn't even, I mean, why not try? I don't understand why we didn't even try.
Because the professional search person we're working with recommended waiting
Okay.
to have the person, and that person is the expert.
Okay.
That's why you hire experts, to take their advice. You don't have to follow it,
No, I understand.
but what's the purpose of hiring an expert if you're not going to listen?
And is there, and, okay, so here's another question. And in all these smaller cities and counties, if you don't want to go with like the political lobbyists, henchmen, whatever they call them, is there any other way, like to post a job and look within the area?
These search firms have networks of people that they go out to. There are professional organizations that represent city managers. There are people who are city managers as a job. That's a career. So, and there are associations that represent those people. You go to those associations and look at who might be looking for opportunities. That's what these search firms do.
It's kind of
I
like
can tell you, when I first got on the council, they tried to do it the way Legislator Ford had suggested. They put a job posting on, I think, monster.com.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
And the resumes that came in were absurd.
Okay.
You know, we got deli cashiers and nail salon employees. And what we did get a lot of, which I thought was kind of interesting, was Wall Street people who thought their financial experience from Wall Street would translate to running a municipal government. I guess if you're desperate for a job, I could see maybe. But, you know, and anybody that's done any job interviews before knows, you know, there are people that send out resumes to any job they see, you know, whether they're qualified or not. So there was a huge number of resumes of people wholly unqualified. And it wasn't a productive process, to be quite honest. So we believe using a professional who's done this before, has networks of the right people to tap into, is the way to find the right person.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to add.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions? I'm guessing that's a yes since you're standing up.
Yes. Do I need to state my name?
Yes, please. Yes.
Alexis Pace, 660 East Olive Street. So I arrived a little late. I apologize. I was at the Board of Education meeting. I was not planning on speaking, but I'm listening to all the comments and I'm listening to everything. And as somebody who sits on a board of education, we have elections every single year, as many of you know, because many of you are former Board of Ed members that are sitting up there. So what I'm a little bit struggling with is that when we have new Board of Ed members come in, we have a superintendent. And our superintendent is always supported by the board. Some new board members may or may not like that, but it is up to the other Board of Ed members, and I've sat in this seat so I can speak from experience, of supporting our superintendent. So what I'm a little bit struggling with, and I'm not asking a question, I'm just making a general statement, is that in the end of the day, as electeds, whatever position we hold, we have a responsibility to the people we serve. And that, in your case, is the people of Long Beach. So I'm just stating that I would like to hear more support, not only for our city managers, for our people that live here, and for each other. And if there was an election that comes and there is a change of guard, I would hope that the politics would go away, as you keep alluding to, and that the city manager would be supported, because that ultimately is what's good for the people if that individual is doing a good job. And those are my comments.
Okay. Mr. Hodge.
Want to expedite the time. James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street. I think I've been asking for this also, that we try to do what we can to get a person in the city manager's job, because one person shouldn't be doing 3 positions. No matter how well they're doing it, it's not fair and it's not right on that person, no matter how good they are or whatever you may think. It's just not fair and it's not right, because they may try to dedicate as much time as possible. Just imagine dedicating your time to the, you know, all the 3 different departments. So that's hard. I will say that I think this is something that should definitely be expedited. We need a city manager as soon as possible. We need someone, and I also will say in this position, I believe that we have such amazing experts in the city of Long Beach that's helping out our world. You know, I don't know what resumes came in, but I'm praying I can see what resumes come in after November, boy. I'm praying. So I think that Long Beach has a lot of experts. And I'm asking you, please, Long Beach, step up with your resumes, because you are here in this great city. You'll be able to walk throughout the day, throughout the night, shop and eat and do everything with your neighbors. I would love a Long Beach person to be in that position, and I know that we have some qualified people here. I'm just asking them to step up. Thank you for your time.
Okay. All right, any more comments? Seeing none, on to item 8.
Item A is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an agreement for the management of mortgage in default registry.
So this contract is basically for the mortgage default registry, which the New York State actually changed the laws for. Our prior company actually went default. There are two companies. I see you're ready to talk, Rail. You tell me if I need to get filled in. There are two companies that actually are in this space. One of them would have cost us money to maintain the registry. This one actually will give us a small amount of revenue. And if you'd like to fill in any of the blanks that you'd like the council to know there, Ray?
Joe Lupo, myself, and Scott Kemmons, the building commissioner, met via Zoom a couple weeks ago with MuniReg, and we were impressed. Their principal, Michael Halpern, has been involved in the code enforcement business going back about 25 years. He's a professional, and his motivation is to fight blight and avoid zombie houses. So moving forward, this is going to be, we're not going to get much revenue from it, but it'll be a code enforcement and a tax collection tool to have management companies and a database of banks that own properties for any property facing foreclosure.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Yeah, Ray, how many houses are in the registry right now?
Our last company went bankrupt and shut their database off. I'm thinking about 50 right now, 50. To 100.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, any questions from the public or comments? Seeing none, on to item 9.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to retain Residential Fencing Corporation to erect fencing for a proposed dog park.
So this item is for $31,437 to build a temporary dog park, since we are in need of closing our current dog park due to the critical infrastructure project. Joe, is there anything else you want to add?
Good evening, Joe Fabrizio, Commissioner of Public Works. I just wanted to add that we're going to be piggybacking off of a Suffolk County contract to do this work, and the price is $31,437. I sent a plan drawing to all the council members earlier today just to show you what the layout is going to look like. We're going to be working on it over the next month. Hopefully it'll be ready. But we're going to be closing the one at the Veterans Memorial Park to accommodate the Long Beach Water Pollution Control Plant consolidation project probably in about a month as well. We've been able to keep it open longer than anticipated, so hopefully it works out where we're closing the one park and opening the temporary park. If you have any questions?
Joe, just can you just, and I know you laid this out, but just to clarify, the timing of that part, the closing, and then the timing.
Yeah, currently we were initially supposed to close the dog park at the Veterans Memorial Park right after Labor Day. We were able to adjust their schedule, so they're going to be starting work on the bulkheading work on the east side of the Long Island Railroad tracks. Actually, most likely tomorrow, they're going to be driving sheets, which it's kind of a banner day in this project. You'll actually see the crane there driving in sheets, which we've been waiting for a while. So anyway, we're not starting in the dog park area. We're going to be able to hopefully keep it open for another couple of weeks, or maybe even a month. And in that time, hopefully we'll have the dog park built at the northwest corner of Reverend J.J. Evans Boulevard and Riverside Boulevard, which is our like a storage yard we have. And we're going to do our best to get it done.
That's excellent. Thank you. And for the fast work on that, that's I really appreciate it.
Great.
And my other question, so like once then that area is done and the other dog park is put back up, will this dog park also stay? Will we have two?
I mean, I'm calling it a temporary dog park, but I think if you look at the layout, I think it could be there permanently, so we could have two dog parks. Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice park that we could keep. That's but awesome. I am calling it temporary for now. Okay.
John, I'm sorry. I think you sent this afternoon. I did not see it.
I apologize.
I just pulled it up. I'm trying to figure out how many feet of fence is this?
Oh, I didn't add it up. If you could add it up, if you look at the drawing, it has all the dimensions on it, but I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. Actually, I think I do have it. Wait, hold on.
So it just surrounds the 40 It seems to be
Joe.
44 feet
It
wide.
says on this 195 feet.
195, all right. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Okay. That's the spec sheet.
okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the council? Any from the public? All right, seeing none, on to item 10.
Item
Joe,
10
stay for this one, Joe.
10 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a contract for asphalt overlay work at various locations throughout the city on an as-needed basis with the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, on Thursday, August 24th, 2023, my office received 9 bids for the asphalt overlay various locations contract. The low bidder was Roadwork Ahead at $506,800. The remaining 8 bids ranged from $548,500 to $2.1 million. It's a requirements contract. It provides the city with the mechanism to conduct our annual asphalt overlay projects. Currently, it's approximately $600,000 in the capital budget for asphalt overlays. Roadwork Ahead happens to be the contractor that we currently have that just expired. So they're a reputable contractor that has performed the work satisfactorily in the past, and therefore I recommend awarding the contract to Roadwork Ahead. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Seeing none, any from the public? Okay, item 11.
Item 11 is approval of minutes of prior meetings, September 5th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay. On to the voting portion. So item 1 is a resolution ratifying a collective bargaining agreement between the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association of the City of Long Beach and the City of Long Beach. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Thank you again, Commissioner Walsh and the PBA, and I vote yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Thank you again, everyone, for your hard work. I vote yes.
President Bendo.
This is a long time coming. People worked hard to get us here. Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase body cameras and tasers for the city under a Sourcewell contract. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city council to enter into an employment contract with the police commissioner. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
I believe I did make my position clear, and at this time I vote no.
Councilmember Lester.
I think the rabbi said it best. If this contract were proposed in January, there would be no question. The right person, the right thing for the city. The experience, the cost, everything is valid, but because it's not January, it's September, we should vote no. That's ridiculous. I'd vote yes.
Vice President Treston.
I think I've made my position clear as well. I have to vote no.
President Bendo.
I've been wrestling with this one because I voted no when the council wanted to change the charter to give employees contracts. I'm not a fan of the idea of giving the employees contracts. This is the real world. You come and you go. Management changes and things change. But the council made the decision to do that. We've given some employees contracts, so that's where we are now. I kind of been asking myself 3 questions. 1, is he a pain in the ass sometimes? And the answer is yes. Is he a bull in the china shop sometimes? The answer is yes. Is the police department better now than it was when he first took over? And the answer is yes. Sometimes you got to break some eggs to make an omelet, which doesn't always make you a popular person, but my job is to sit up here and do what's right for the city and the residents. You know, Legislator Ford talked about taking an oath, and I did take that oath, and I take that oath very seriously. I guess one thing I tell this to people all the time, one thing that makes me a crappy politician, I admit this openly, is I still believe in right and wrong. And I don't believe politics should drive things or armchair quarterbacks on social media. This is about what's good for the city. And the city and our police department, and I'm going to take a step back because Councilman Lester pointed this out. Last year, we were voted one of the 25 safest cities in the entire country. That has to do with the work that he has done as police commissioner and our PBA and our commanding officers in rethinking how they police, their equipment, their methods, to make this city a safer place. Now, if you read social media right now, because we're in silly season with the election, you have people trying to convince you that this city is unsafe, it's going down the crapper. But you know what? They have to do that because that's the only way they can win the election, is to convince you things are worse. The problem is that's not reality. The city is a safer place because of the work that our police department has done under him. So while this may not be politically popular with some of the people in this room, though I will note most of the people that came up here speaking against this were people who have vowed to vote us out of office anyway. So this city and our police department is better because of the work he has done, so I vote yes.
Item fails with only 2 affirmative votes. Item number 4 is a resolution authorizing corrections to the 2023 City of Long Beach Comprehensive Plan. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 23-24 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an agreement for the performance of physical exams. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the retention of consulting services. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Again, we need to begin this search. Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an agreement for the management of mortgage in default registry. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to retain Residential Fencing Corporation to erect fencing for a proposed dog park. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will. Oh, sorry. That's a first.
Okay.
1 and 2, yeah.
Who got first?
Tina can go first.
Okay. And second?
I'll do it.
Okay. Thank you. Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Well, as the mom to a big fur baby, I know how important the dog park and now dog parks are to our community, so a big yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
I just want to thank Joe for having a chat with me regarding the dog park and listening to the residents that utilize the dog park. And thank you to Acting City Manager for making this happen, finding the space. And Tommy, it may seem like a small thing, but these are the things that add up. Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
And finally, item 10 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a contract for asphalt overlay work at various locations throughout the city on an as-needed basis with the lowest responsible bidder. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
City manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now we'll go into good and welfare. In case it's your first time, you get 3 minutes. All right. First up, Brendan Finn.
Brendan Finn, 114 Grand Boulevard. I don't know if we just witnessed a charade or what that was all about. You guys had to know where you all stood before you came into this room.
No.
And yet we still went through with it. And it came out 2 out of 4. Right? Do I have that right? Okay. This is not about whether Long Beach is safer or not. This is not about Ron Walsh's performance or track record. This is about arrogance. I think this is about not allowing democracy really to happen. It's not about politics. I mean, yes, politics is the interaction of people, so all of this is politics. But democracy is allowing the voters to have their say. And in 1 month, they're going to have their say. And then we could have done something like this then. Did it have to be done now? And I think putting Mr. Walsh through it right now was not the right thing. And I think it's about arrogance, usurping the power of the voter.
So what?
No, I'm speaking.
Okay.
Why would the city council not allow the incoming council, whoever they may be, whether it's James or Ms. Treston or Ms. Postoli or myself, Fiamara or Reinhardt, why would you not allow them to select the managers? Why does the city council feel the need to usurp the voters and their power and take it away from the people? I think it all goes back to that city council meeting back in April or May when there was a person at the podium and the council said, you and all your local friends ran this city. You ran it into the ground. And now you're proposing to go back to that. So maybe people need to think about that. We're fixing things that you and your friends created. I remember that statement. It wasn't made to me, but it was said. And the arrogance of that statement is manifested in what just happened. What just happened tonight. This is not really about Ron Walsh. This is about arrogance. I think many of the local Long Beach friends, I think maybe they're tired of it. Maybe that transparency that's been talked about should have been transparent. That's what I got to say.
Okay. So while you're heading back to your seat, Mr. Finn, I'll give you your first lesson in being on a city council. I said, I will give you your first lesson in
My
city
first
council
lesson?
votes. Yes.
How would you know it's my first?
A 2-2 vote fails.
I know that.
So you just came up here and gave a talk like it passed.
I said it was a charade.
Okay, thank you.
I feel bad that you put Mr. Walsh through that. That's my point. You missed that, so that's my lesson to you.
Okay. And Denise Ford. No, he didn't. He didn't know.
Good evening. Just before I do I feel bad that you had to sit through this. And I think that had you polled everybody before you put this on the calendar, knowing that it wasn't going to pass 2-2, it never should have been brought to the floor, because I think that you did a disservice to Ron Walsh. Here in Nassau County, we have the Special Victims Unit, or SVU, which has dedicated and well-trained officers to deal specifically with victims of sexual assault and domestic violence, as well as children of assault. This unit partners with the Safe Center and a specialized intake and emergency room in Northwell. Unfortunately, these types of crimes are on the rise here in the county, over 800 reported, as well as across the states. Over 900,000 assaults nationwide, with 30% reporting and a 1 to 2% conviction rate. I am sure Long Beach is not immune to these crimes or the increased occurrences. I was surprised to learn that the Long Beach Police Department is the only policing jurisdiction in Nassau County that does not pass sexual assault crimes to SVU as they are investigated internally. There is no doubt that our office do a wonderful and thorough job, but the consensus is that these victims need to be handled differently than those of other crimes. The vast majority of sexual assaults are committed against girls and young women between the ages of 14 to 26. They are traumatized and many are ashamed over what has happened to them. There needs to be a certain approach when dealing with such a vulnerable and scared victim. Even those that are elderly who find themselves victims of sexual assault have a tough time processing this. This may be why only 30% are reported, and for those that find the courage to do so, they should not find themselves dealing with an officer who's not trained in these type of cases. Rape is a violent crime which has a lasting impact on its victims. When a young girl or boy has to report this and recant what happens, it is like reliving it all over again. The pain they go through gets heightened if they feel as if they are not being taken seriously or with a proper response. They can leave the interview feeling humiliated and depressed. They can become reclusive or unable to participate in activities. Today, they also suffer from the repercussions of social media. Some turn to drugs or run away. Sadly, some resort to suicide. I would like to know why we are not taking every measure to help special victims. Are our officers specially trained, and if so, who are they? If not, I would urge you to immediately change the policy and have the trained officers of SVU handle these crimes. Commissioner?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize the mic was off. So, you're correct, there is SVU and Safe Unit, SANE Unit, and we do use them. As a matter of fact, and we absolutely do use them. As a matter of fact, I can't think of one victim of a sex crime since I've been here who did not have their interview done by the Nassau County Sex Victims Unit. We cooperate with them. Their detectives do those interviews, they record those interviews, and then we work the cases jointly with them so that the resources of the county can fill in all the gaps just in case the resources of the city of Long Beach are not able to. I even have gone so far as to have a case that, or cases where if a complainant or a victim is not satisfied with the outcome, we have SVU look over our cases and make sure that they wouldn't have done something different. And if they would have, they do it with us and for us. That's about all I can say about that. I'm not sure how you got the information that way.
Well, because I actually spoke with the head of our Special Victims Unit here in Nassau County.
Carlo.
And I asked in regard to, because I actually, and I would recommend people watch a documentary on Netflix, which is called Victim Suspect. And it was something that moved me greatly. So I called up and I wanted to know what, how do we handle this? I wanted to know what they can. We have procedures that our offices follow, everybody follows, and it was this individual who said that Long Beach is the only one that you do not pass it directly, where then it's the SVU unit in Nassau County that takes over the case and handles everything from beginning to end. Not here in Long Beach. You have a different procedure, and I think that, excuse me, I think that that is something that maybe we should have a discussion about and look into, because it is something, these assaults are on the rise, and there's no doubt, I don't care where you live, you know, and I know crime is down, but unfortunately, according to statistics, these type of crimes are on the rise. So I think, I'm sorry, he did take some of my time.
No, he didn't take any of your time.
I am gonna end right now. I really think that you need to take a look at this, because we have a lot of vulnerable children, and we need to make sure that we take every step and that we follow it through from beginning to end, and that no person who is sexually assaulted feels that they get assaulted by people not listening to them. Thank you.
Ron Paganini.
Who's right here?
Ron is very stealthy.
Evening, Council.
Sir?
Ron Paganini, 62 Harmon Street. You know, I was missing in action here for a few months. So I came back. I'm back on track, basically about the taxes. Now, the council, when I ran with them, some of them are still here, we ran on fixing the fiscal crisis that we were in. But I think we missed. We missed. We didn't fix it. All we did was raise taxes. Now, how much taxes were raised by you guys is about 30% in 4 years. The past administration bounced it all around. I'm figuring 75 to 80% since 2012. That's a lot. A percentage going up. Now, what I'm trying to get at the bottom line here, by raising the taxes on us, you did straighten out to the state that we were fiscally afloat. There's no engine. We're not moving, but we're afloat. Correct? Just hear me out. So by doing that, to continue this afloat, you would have to raise the taxes continuously instead of fixing the real problem. Now, the real problem is a lot of overtime, a lot of wasted money, and people being overpaid. We can get into, there's a lot of money going out, nothing coming in. So, I asked you to keep it under the cap. You went farther than that. It was almost like a zero city levy. But, as you know, with the Haberman levy and the super block, it comes to about, what, 11% if you add them together? Around there. The Haberman levy is what, 9 and change? What's the super block levy? 1.5%, correct?
The super block levy it's already in the taxes. It's not, nothing's added each year.
Yeah, but you tax us every year on it.
That's built into the budget already. That's not, there's no additional.
But we're paying for that. We're paying for that. It's coming.
Yes. Yes,
we're paying
we
for that. So basically what I'm saying, it's more than 9%.
No.
It's not more than 9%.
No, the only increase this year, there was zero operational tax increase. The only increase was the Haberman, which was just under 10%.
Okay, all right.
And that and iStar were both, as you know, with lawsuits from
I know, it's
years
from the past,
years
but
past.
the bottom line, John, is this. We can't take a 10 a year. You guys went crazy getting a zero. So what I'm trying to tell you, what are we going to do about the 10% for the next 29 years? You got overtime that's over $5 million. I'm trying to get you guys to fix the problem. You got a fire department that's making stupid money, out of control money, and I wanted to ask you that. Are you still in talks with the fire department?
So, Ron, your time's up. I'll stick around after the meeting if you want, and we can chat. Or if you want, we'll grab a beer again.
Well, listen, I'll be back the next 2 weeks or whatever, and we'll continue this thing to get to the bottom of fixing it. Because it's,
Okay.
we can't take any more of those taxes. So.
Okay, Judy Vining.
Usually I'm here about Long Beach Aware. Tonight I'm not. Tonight I'm just Judy. The commissioner and I had a talk because there are signs on Broadway used to be signs on Broadway from Long Beach Road to Maple that said no parking for 5 spaces. That was before they did the increase in the size of the abutment. And so, Commissioner, you heard me after I paid my ticket for parking there. But bottom line was the only sign left was the one in front of the Long Beach Hotel. The others had all been taken down because of the increase in the, whatever you would call it, the end of the mall, so it extended out, so there was no need anymore for those signs. Well, guess what? It's back. The only one that's back. So I'm just wondering if there's a reason.
I'll have to look into it, Judy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm just saying because I wound up with a ticket, but I would hate to see other people also do that. Aside from that, I'll switch to Long Beach Aware for a second and say we're excited that we won an award, the Stop Act grant, that gives us the ability to work with the police in our continued partnership at the rate of about $20,000 a year for the next 4 years. It could start on Friday, or there could be a government shutdown, so we'll have to wait, but it increases what we're able to do. This is specifically aimed at underage drinking, no other issues involved. It's called the Sober Truth on Preventing Underage Drinking, the STOP Act for short, and we were one of only 50 communities across the country to get it. So that's kind of, we got it as a result of the work we've already done and have been doing with the police, and that's the pivotal piece of this, is law enforcement partnership with the community. So we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Janine Gillespie. Janine, did you leave? Okay. Patrick Mullaney. Okay. Jennifer Sarafin.
Now I'm back about my usual thing. Okay, so October 11th. We all know what October 11th is, right?
Yes.
With the judges. Okay, so are you guys all going to be here, the whole council, in opposition for the cable?
I'm not going to be here. I'll be in Europe.
Yikes, because that was my next question. Kelly wanted me to ask you if you were going to come and tell them that you were against the cable.
I'm supposed to come on Thursday to Oceanside.
Oh, they're going to be in Oceanside?
No, it's...
Thursday is our presentation.
Yes.
But the judges, thank you. The judges are going to be here on October 11th. So
I had...
Public Service.
The Public Service Commission.
Commission and
Yeah.
the Administrative Law Judge.
So yes, so we are asking also if you can please all come, and as your letter stated that you're against the cable and you're not happy with the way Equinor is coming, and so that is our request, that hopefully whoever is available is going to come and state how they feel about the cable coming through our town and the construction. So that's my question, so hopefully. I'm hoping.
Oh, you're
Whoever is
at-
available is
Are
going
you
to come.
I'll be
in.
there.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
be there.
Okay,
Sure.
yes. And also, plenty people are not on social media, so how is the city getting it out to the people that are not on social media? Like not on Facebook, basically.
First off, it's the state that's actually holding it. It's not the city. They're asked to host it in this building. So it's not the city's meeting, it's the state's.
No, I know,
We will put it up on our website.
Thank you.
And we will put it up on our social media.
Okay,
as
and
well.
also, we have been told by our lawyer that be very prepared. They are going to, the lobbyists, they are going to come in droves, like, for this, so we need to.
Well, the room is limited to a certain capacity, and once that's done, nobody will be allowed up here.
Okay, so just, we want to make sure we let people know that it's going on.
And speaking from experience, as Tim pointed out earlier, with the union came
Yeah.
last time, and we went through this with iStar as well, where they kind of filled the room up and
Yeah.
kind of boxed out residents. Get here early.
I'm going to be here all day for both sessions, so, and the rest of us, I don't know, I took the day off of work. But
Okay.
just please, we are asking, please, to state your opinion of Equinor and the cable. Thank you.
Okay. Kathleen Sullivan. She left? Okay. Tim Kramer. Sorry.
Hi, Tim Kramer, 361 East Broadway. There's been a lot of talk tonight about, quote-unquote, making it political. And I would argue that by putting Mr. Walsh's contract on the agenda 40 days before Election Day with a 3-year contract, you guys made it political. The council made it political. And in defense of Mr. Walsh, you put this guy in an impossible position by doing that, okay? And I would also say that you should have had the respect, in my opinion, to wait until after the election because of that impossible position. But, I mean, I can't believe, you know, people come up here and they voice their opinion, and you say that they're making it political when you made it political by putting it on the agenda in this tumultuous time, 40 days before, and with a 3-year contract. It's crazy. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Christina Kramer.
Hello, Christina Kramer. So some of it's a little repetitive. I just made my statement already, so I'm just going to read it off. On October 11th, the Article 7 judges for the Empire Wind Turbine Ocean Industrialization Project, Judges Marino and Kersey, will be presiding over a presentation regarding the high voltage EMF radiation cables that will be placed in our ocean, affecting marine life. There has been no safety testing to prove that it is not going to negatively affect our marine life in the long term. These cables will also cause heavy construction. They say for 2 to 4 years, but most likely it will be 3 to 6 years in our streets, and huge excavations for joint base splicings all over our coastal city. According to Equinor's public Article 7 documents, there has never been a densely populated community exposed in this way before. As a resident in opposition to these oil companies pushing this unsafe, untested, fossil fuel gobbling, EMF radiation emitting energy source that is not green, not clean, not efficient, that is killing our whales and polluting our ocean before the installation has even begun. I personally am thrilled that they are coming, and I'm looking forward to the presentation, Q&A, and commenting session. My question is, how are you, as our city council, educating the residents on the Article 7 process? How will the residents know what questions to ask? Why haven't you educated yourselves and educated the residents you serve? How will you educate, promote participation from our residents in this community who are largely unaware and will be severely impacted by a project of this magnitude? Not everyone is on social media. We should be putting up the marquees on Park Avenue, robocalls, postcards, Long Island Railroad posters, and any other way of reaching our community to get resident participation. And I echo Ms. Sarafin's sentiments. We need you all there to speak. Roy, if you can't be there, send a letter. We need you all there to speak in opposition of the cables, as you all have done in person and written letters in the past. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Hodge.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, here in our amazing great city. Democracy, a little summary of democracy. Democracy is government in which power and civic responsibilities are exercised by all adult citizens directly or through their freely elected representatives. Democracy rests upon the principles of majority rule and individual rights. I am excited that you all put this on the agenda. Why? Because the community and residents and voters get to see how you feel. I don't think you should work with things behind closed doors, which the residents fight against, and then come out only if you know you have a yes. That wouldn't be what you ran for. You ran so the community and taxpayers and voters, no matter which side they are on, they can see you openly deliberate your decisions. I am excited. This is not personal to you, Mr. Walsh. We've already said that about the contract for city manager. You guys made a decision, and it was tie, so it fails. And it's something that will come up with whoever is blessed to be in November. And I'm happy that Finn actually said my name and your names first. Thank you, Mr. Finn. We don't know what will happen in November, but our great residents will make a wonderful decision. And I trust the great, excellent minds in this city. I will continue coming as I've been coming since 18 years old, or younger than that. And I came starting fighting for sanitation workers, as Martin Luther King died fighting for sanitation workers and their rights. Yes, Roy, stop my time, please. Go ahead, Roy.
No,
Sorry, I was
I'll
on the roll.
stop.
Go ahead, Roy.
All right. James, you have been coming for years, and you and I disagree a lot. We agree sometimes.
We agree a lot.
But I have to say, that says so much about a candidate. The fact that they just don't come when an election comes around, they just don't suddenly appear. But they come, they learn the issues, they're not afraid to speak up, they come out, and that's something you've been doing. Like I say, I don't always agree with you, but I have to laud your participation. Democracy is about participation. It's not just, appearing out of nowhere and saying, hey, I know how to run the place. It's saying, it's learning, it's paying your dues and learning how to do it. Thank you, James.
Thank you. I finish with saying, again, thank you for allowing the city and the residents to see that it's not personal, but what you believe is right, and giving the residents the opportunity to make a decision to lock in whoever they so feel. Out of 500 and some odd employees, we have 3 unions, and we only have a few exempt positions. And I think it is right for the key positions for whatever administration is in to be able to either keep or make the decision of those main positions and key positions in our city government. If they fire someone that is doing a diligent job and have an impeccable resume and the residents can see it, then that administration, as soon as possible, should be kicked out the next opportunity they have, and people should make their voices heard. God bless. Have an amazing night. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
Karen Riskin. Did she leave? Okay. Crystal Lake.
Excuse me. Good evening again. I just wanted to say, Long Beach is our home. We love the city of Long Beach. We do have sand in our shoes. I'm catching up with the other residents who've been there 70, 80 years. I've been here over 60 years now. Praise God. And I would like to say that we are a community. We can have our differences of opinions. All of that is fine. But this is still our home. And I've stand, excuse me, before various administrations since on or about 2006, voiced my opinions, my concerns, but the key part, I did my homework. I worked full-time, I took care of my family, I paid my way as I was supposed to, but I researched, I did the work, and I've shared it across the board so many could do better. Even though that information that I shared, the plethora of information that I obtained from federal, state, and local governmental entities, okay, did not do justice for all. So I stand before this council and any other councils, but I must be honest with you, I don't plan on doing this forever. So I'm hoping that I laid the groundwork to show everyone that we are all human beings and none are perfect. We all deserve to live better if we choose to. It's having the opportunities to do so. With all of my research and data that I have submitted to City Council almost 2 decades, okay, I've been shunned, or the information has been shunned, ignored, and not used in a proper manner. So now, here's Equinor. And I am a reader, make no mistake. However, due to confidentiality, I can't say much. But I am there. I am there with the city. Okay, I do what I can do from what I've learned. And I'm learning more as I go. Okay, but make no mistake, we are the city of Long Beach, and we have got weakened. Once upon a time, this city was known as the Lions because you could visually see them marching, how strong and powerful the city was as an entity. No, I'm not saying I agreed with everything they did. I didn't. However, moving forward, Equinor is the Goliath. We have to stand strong and tall by God's grace and mercy. Make no mistake. And as we move forward, okay, I don't want to hear, well, people have the right to their opinions. However, whether you're poor, rich, hungry, ugly, pretty, or whatever the case may be, we stand together. And I'm hoping that we will stand together moving forward so everyone can thrive to the best of their ability. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. All right, and Brittany Littlejohn.
Hello, how are you? I'm Brittany Littlejohn and I live in Long Beach. Oh wow, I did make it. I didn't think I was gonna, but here I am. I assume you all got my email I sent this morning, yeah? Good, because only one person confirmed receipt. Anyway, I didn't hear all the arguments, and I know that it didn't pass, and this has nothing to do with Mr. Walsh, but I wanted to bring up one point that was missing from my email. I can say with full confidence that if the prior administration did put what was on the agenda today, every single one of you would be up in arms that it is inappropriate, it is a conflict of interest, and it is completely not the way it's supposed to be handled. Again, right now, this has nothing to do with Walsh. I'm looking at every single one of you that would be furious with Aramo and Kumi Diamond and Scott Mandel for, oh, it's corrupt, it's this, it's that. The fact that 2 of you voted yes for this is wild. And that's all I have to say. Short and sweet. You don't have to reply. Just wanted to get it out there. Cheers. Have a great evening.
Thank you. All right, that's a wrap, everyone. Thanks for hanging to the end, and everyone, please get home safely.
Happy birthday, Mommy.